Good evening, everyone. It is calling to order the meeting of the Board of Trustees Work Session on December 4th at 5:05 p.m. Clerk Perillo, could you please confirm the presence of a quorum?
Yes, thank you. Mayor Shepro?
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Giuliano?
Here.
Thank you. Trustee Laux? Present. Thank you. Trustee Hill?
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Ugrinsky?
Present.
Thank you. Treasurer Gafka is with us. We're expecting Attorney Moran shortly.
Thank you. Could we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This is a work session. Just as a reminder, this is a session where the Board of Trustees comes together once a month to report on the areas for which they serve as liaisons and commissioners. And we also go through and talk about some of the most recent updates, relevant updates of the village happening in this village hall and around the village, in village buildings every day. Just to give everybody an idea of what it looks like, because I talked about this the other day to a group. We have 2 meetings a month with department heads. Trustee Deputy Mayor Giuliano has attended several. Trustee Ugrinsky has attended. And all trustees are welcome to attend at any point, as long as it's coordinated to the point where only one of you are there, because I'm there as the administrator of the meeting, and only one other trustee can be in that meeting at a time. So again, always welcome to attend department head meetings. They are every other Monday. We had one this Monday. Prior to the work session, which is the second Wednesday of the month, although this month it's the first Wednesday because it's a holiday, a month where we're infiltrated with holidays, we adjusted our schedule. We request from all department heads reports once a month, a week before the department head meeting. So this particular month, it was due last Wednesday. And the department heads do a really great job summarizing the work that they do on a regular basis the month before and what they're looking forward to leading up to the next subsequent months. And from there, we have taken those reports and we use them to supplement our working agendas for this work session. So they are attached, those reports are attached to these work sessions agendas, and they're extremely informative, and they just give residents and whoever's interested in reading them an idea of what happens in the village on a monthly basis, sometimes day to day. So from there, what we've just done subsequently is we've put together a newsletter called the Port Jeff Village Voice, and we just started that newsletter last month. It took a while in developing it to get the systems and the technology and the format going in a way that works. We have a writer that this board approved a couple of months ago, Greg Zeller, who pulls together information from those monthly reports, and puts them into a context that is summarizing the work of the village. And last month I provided those drafts to the trustees for their review prior to the report going out, and whatever comments we received certainly addressed in the updates that we provided. And we're in the process now of writing up the second edition of the Port Jefferson Village Voice, Port Jeff Village Voice. It's digital content. There is a subscription button at the bottom of the opening page of the document. It will be living digitally archived on the Port Jefferson website. It lives right now archived, but there's only one edition, so there's really not an archive. It's a one version archive. So anyway, just to give you a sense of what we're trying to do to help communicate what's happening in the village in a systematic process way. So having said that, I didn't really intend to talk about that, but right? But I thought it would be helpful because it's really interesting to see, some of these reports are 2 and 3 pages long, and they're very detailed, and the department heads put a lot of time and effort into them, and we're very grateful for that. It's a process that the clerk instituted, I want to say, how long ago was that? When was it first? It's like maybe a year ago. Yeah. So it's very effective, as are the department head meetings, because everybody communicates. And Trustee Giuliano, if you want to weigh in on what your observation of that, and
I've said before, when I've given my reports, they're very, I think the department head meetings are very helpful, and it's very good to see the cooperation that we have from each department, so.
yeah, they
It's
help
a
each other
fantastic
out.
thing.
If somebody's in a bind staff-wise, we can fill in and supplement, and as long as it's not out of title, we can get that done.
May
but-
I add something to that?
Hmm?
May I
Sure,
add some-
yes, please.
So I did attend one early on in my tenure, and the thing that I found most impactful was, as far as I could see, it was really the first time that each of the department heads was discussing what their department is doing with the rest of the departments present. And what I believe that eliminated was, say, rework necessary because they were constantly operating independently. So I just think it was probably one of the best things that that was done out of the gate.
Thank you. They enthusiastically kind of I think there was some trepidation in the beginning, like,
Yeah.
you know, what's this going to be about? But I think ultimately it just has now become a very good working session. We have a couple of the department heads here in the room now. I won't ask them to say anything because that's not going to be an unbiased opinion. They're going to say what they think we want to hear, right? But anyway, the reason I did bring that up was just to reinforce the format of this meeting. It's a work session. We're here to work tonight to talk about things that we are confronted with as a board independently out there in the world, in the field, and to try and come up with the best solutions so that we can be prepared for the voting session, the voting meeting, which is in 2 weeks, December 18th. And we're not actually needing to discuss things at a level that we can discuss them tonight. So that's what this meeting's for, discuss the questions and the issues that are raised today through this agenda that occur to anyone on the board can ask questions about any of the things that anybody at this board is talking about tonight. So that's tonight's structure for tonight's meeting, as it is for the work session every month. Okay, with that said, tonight we have several presentations. We're going to ask the bid president, James Luciano, to come up first. Paul D'Amato will be present subsequently, so we'll have the bid presentation tonight. I believe James Luciano is going to present the bid budget for, the proposed budget for 2025 calendar year. Thank you, James. There's a seat for you here if you like. BID is the Business Improvement District in Port Jefferson. It's a taxing district that is shared, the revenues of which are shared by the bid to further business development and improvement and investment in the commercial districts.
So we have a pretty streamlined budget plan. We just categorize the money coming in as to which areas they're going to go into, and then throughout the year that will change. What I did is I enclosed last year's budget, and then following that, we don't have any fancy accounting software, so everything's in spreadsheets, but following that on each page is going to be the breakdown of everything that we spent and how much came in, all the different events that we do, you know, where the advertising money goes, anything extra, like we had the big thing about the budget is, you know, like snow removal, for example. Like we have to put our share aside, which is $30,000. Last year we only used, you know, a small portion of that, so we were able to vote and roll that money into parking improvements, which is where the parking meters came from. So it's things like that where we're constantly evolving and changing to make the business district run. And then we do try and save a little bit as well. so that we can do big projects when we need to and help out the village in Christmas decorations and anything else that could come up along the way. So with that being said, I don't know if anybody has any specific questions, but I'm happy to answer anything on what the bid does or what we plan on doing with any questions.
Why don't you give it a little bit of a background on that? Talk about some of the investments that you feel were worthwhile that the Business Improvement District spent money on, and
Well, our latest project has been the Christmas tree that's up in the village now. We're on year 4 of that, and we never had anything like that for the village, and we thought part of our business district funds in our bylaws says that we're supposed to put money aside for holiday decorations for the community. So we invested in a 14-foot tree a few years ago. There's a lot of pushback in the beginning about that, but we did get it done and installed, and then everybody loved it, and we started this new event that we do the tree lighting every year. And the last 3 years, we built up on that tree size. We're now at 26 feet. That's the maximum we can go for that location. And we have a white glove service that comes in every year. They put it up, they maintain it, they break it down, they store it for us. So that's one of the big things that we do. And then we do the Ice Festival, which we're on our 6th year now doing that. That's an event that we started just to drum up business in the wintertime for the folks, and every year it just gets stronger and stronger, and that's a big part of our, helping out for the community for the winter months. We do advertising, social media marketing every month. We have a company, Big Picture Advertising, currently, that they post and curate pictures and everything going on in the village, so that communicates for local businesses, stuff like that. Whereas some small businesses may not have the funds to do any social media advertising, we can go in there and, shoot a couple of pictures, get some background information, any specials they have going on, we post on that stuff for them. So there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that we try and really help out the community as we can. And we do try and manage the money with whatever way we can. Like, so this year we moved our savings into money market accounts. So for us, that gained another $6,700 this year. So, that's, managing the money properly rather than just letting it sit in an account, which has happened over the years.
And can you just share with this board who were the members of your board, the Business Improvement District Board of
Yes,
Directors?
so I am the president, Rob Gito is the vice president, Marianne Ketchum is the treasurer, Steve Muniz is our secretary, and then we have directors that have been appointed by the board as well as ourselves, as well as elected, Rob Crow, Tommy Schaefer, David Monina, Joe Rezzavani. I'm drawing a few blanks here, but we do have a board of about 15 people. We just had a new member this past election cycle, R.J. Perillo, who took the place of Dominic Perillo when he passed. He wanted to fill in his father's shoes. So, we do have a nice group of people that work together that get the job done.
You have Melanie Gonzalez.
Melanie Gonzalez, yes, she was appointed by the board.
Is Suzanne Velasquez on that board?
Suzanne Velasquez is she's a member of Stony Brook as well, but she's on our board as well. And then we have Barbara Ransom comes from the chamber every week.
Is
every month.
Arik on that board?
Arik Schachner,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay.
Barbara Ransom is the liaison to the chamber. She comes to every meeting. There's always a representative from the village. Andy Freeling comes to most of our meetings so that we can communicate things back and forth that we may be looking to do, as well as yourself attends most meetings. So they are always open to anybody that wants to come in and sit.
And those meetings take place the first?
The first Tuesday at 6 o'clock at the Village Center.
Okay. All right. Does anyone on the board? Hi, Dave. Hi, Miss Attorney Moran. How are you?
Doing well, thank you.
Good. Welcome back.
Got off a plane 45 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Second Wednesday.
So anyone on the board have questions for our Business Improvement District President?
Hey, James, I just have a question. This is not a calendar, it lines up with our fiscal year, is that right?
Correct. So in the years past, we had issues getting our assessment. Excuse me. So we never knew how much we were going to get, when we were going to get it. So we decided to go from, our year goes from November 1st to October 31st. That gives the village plenty of time to collect the assessment and get it over to us, and then we have a good idea of what we're gonna be spending. And then we always have our little cushion, because there were years where we didn't get our check until April the following year. So now we're getting it very quickly, thanks, everything seems to be rolling smooth now. But we get it, we had our full assessment pretty much by, I think, the end of September, right? Yeah.
And talk a little bit about the landscaping, beautification, supplemental work that the bid does too.
So we do landscaping where necessary. We have 2 bids that we took on. We took on the bed that's over by the railroad station, as well as the triangle by Mather Hospital. We just recently had them all cleaned out, and we planted mums for the Harvest Festival. The company came in just this past weekend, and they ripped out all the old mums, cleaned up the beds, and planted all daffodils for the spring. We will be removing the daffodils after the spring, and then we have summer flowers that are gonna go in there. So, you know, we try and spread out uptown as well as downtown our budget wherever we can.
And tell us about the Ice Festival. What are the plans and the dates for the Ice Festival?
So we have January 18th and 19th, which is Martin Luther King weekend. We're doing things a little bit different this year. We asked for use of the tennis courts so that we could do live carves in the tennis courts. Rather than having 3 live carves spread out through the village, we're going to just do 5 concentrated in the one area and have live carves going on all day from 12 to 5.
Everybody know what live carves are? Live carves. Live carves. You know what they are?
I thought it was a card, but I've since heard the V.
We also teamed up with Andrew Gladys this year. In place of the horse and carriage, he's going to be bringing us a tractor. The tractor rides will go from the church on East Main Street and bring people over to the tennis courts and kind of circle the village so they could see all the ice sculptures, and that will be free of charge as well. But it's really to transport, you know, the families with the small children from one end of the street to the other to bring them over to the main, you know, event area.
And where can we expect to see the live carves and the carves themselves?
The live carves will be on the tennis courts. They'll be doing that from 12 to 5. And then the sculptures will be throughout Main Street and East Main Street. Mill Creek Road will be closed. We will be doing ice games over there. So we have ice bowling, ice golf, you know, the hacky sack games, tic-tac-toe. So we're doing things a little bit
Cornhole?
differently. Yes, that's not the hacky sack, cornhole.
It is.
So we will be doing a lot of that kind of thing. We have a few vendors, not many, like Renewal by Anderson is going to set up a tent just to give people, you know, awareness of their product and set up appointments if necessary. We'll do an ice graffiti wall over by Tommy's Place, which we do every year, where people can go and actually carve their name into the ice. So it's a really good day. We do. We're going to have the stilt walkers walking around, you know, in their ice gear. You know, we'll give out hot chocolate on the Lobster House deck like we normally do every year. Vinny will be roasting marshmallows at the frigate. All these activities are all free of charge, and that's kind of what brings everybody into the village. The only thing that's not free of charge would be the mac and cheese crawl, which we do 200 tickets per day on that, and that's usually a sold-out event as soon as we put that up.
Yeah. So keep your eye out for that. Okay.
So if I could,
Yeah.
as far as the budget, you got a flat budget. You're not suggesting any increases?
No. We work with what we have. We're very frugal with how we spend things and when we spend them. And we also don't include in our budget any monies that come in from sponsorships. We don't bank on sponsorships. That's not our goal, but we do try and bring all that money in. So if you see last year, we brought in, you know, let me just see, on the actual spend, which is 3 pages in, you see the outside sponsorships that we brought in. You know, we brought in $27,000 for the Ice Festival alone, another $7,200 from the retails. You know, we did the horse and carriage rides, what we charged last year. We got $1,700. All the food crawls that we do. So this is all money that comes in addition to our assessment. So if we want to do any projects or anything like that that's out of our scope on the budget, that's where that money comes from. But we wouldn't be looking for additional tax revenue. We'll work with what we have.
And do you entertain suggestions for
Absolutely.
expenditure?
Yeah. Anybody could always email us, or they can come to any meeting. You don't have to be a member of the bid district. You know, if you're in the bid district and you pay tax, you're already a member. So you can come to our meetings. They're open. And you can make suggestions. The only thing you can't do is you can't vote, but you're welcome to be a director as well, where you can have voting powers on that. But those meetings are, like I said, the first Tuesday of every month, and they are open to anybody that wants to come.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Thank you, James.
Thank you,
You're
James.
welcome. Thank you, guys.
Do we vote on this budget? It's just,
Not the actual spending plan, but the amount that's collected through taxes, through the annual budget is voted
that's what we
on.
approve. Okay. Thank you. Next up, we are going to improvise as well with a discussion with Andy Owen. This is Andy Freeling, sorry. This is regarding a proposed memorandum of understanding between the Village of Port Jefferson and Chase Bank for supplemental parking purposes. Thank you, Andy, for being here tonight.
Thank you, Mayor, for inviting me. Thank you, members of the board. I'm just going to pass this out. There's 8 copies here, so you also get a copy. So you may know that I'm liaison to the parking committee, which the chair of the parking committee mentioned. We're looking at parking. We're looking at efficient ways to manage parking. When you manage parking, you look at it generally in 3 ways. Do you have enough parking spaces? Are the parking spaces distributed properly? And do you need to construct more spaces? This exercise, we looked at parking around the village, particularly the meadow lot, or the lot behind Main Street downtown. And we see that there are a lot of privately owned parking lots that the village does not use. Something that we could do and something that we've been working on is what's called a shared agreement, where the land use that owns the parking uses the parking when they need to, and when they don't need the parking, usually in the evenings, in the later hours, overnight, those parking lots are vacant, and we would like to use them to park cars during our active times of year. So I reached out to Chase Bank, and I discussed the concept of a shared parking agreement with them. If you're familiar where Chase Bank is, it's downtown on the west side of Main Street. We all know where it is. Behind Chase Bank, there's a 20-stall parking lot. They have a problem. They need it to be regulated because those parking stalls during the day are used for banking customers. And what happens is that it's filled up by shoppers, people who live in the area, fill up those spaces, and it's hard to for them to have spaces for their customers. So we went into a possible agreement where the village would regulate the parking in that lot during banking hours, and after banking hours, that lot would become a resident-only parking lot. So that helps move employees of the businesses in the area out of the lot in the evenings, unless they're residents, and it allows the village to help the bank keep spaces open for their customers. So this draft of terms for the Memorandum of Understanding just outlines the operating conditions for this Memorandum of Understanding. So this is not the memorandum, this is just the terms for the operating. The first section is an intent, which discusses a little bit what shared parking is about. The second section is the nature of this understanding, which it allows the conversion of this private lot to a shared lot. Section 3 talks about the specifics. Chase Bank wants to maintain 8 spaces in this 20-lot parking lot, 20-stall parking lot for their employees. So the bank will mark the stalls for employees, for patrons, and that's done during banking hours. That's going to be a 20-minute turnover for bank customers. For the staff, Chase will issue some sort of identification, so code will know who is a bank employee and who is a customer, and if that customer doesn't leave within 20 minutes, then code would issue a summons on the, or parking ticket, I should say, on the vehicle. Chase Bank will maintain the responsibility for maintaining the parking lot, so the village will not plow, the village will not repair, the village will not stripe. That'll all still be maintained with Chase Bank. After banking hours, the lot is turned over to the village for residents only. So all those cars that would be parked there in the evening would be easily identifiable as residents through the village code system, code enforcement system. Saturday and Sunday, the bank does not have banking hours, and the bank management has said that the entire lot could be used for resident parking on Saturday and Sunday. So the only problem will be regulating it, getting them out early on Monday morning, which I think they would get used to, and then it would roll over to banking use. The village's responsibilities in Section 4, during banking hours, we would regulate the 20-minute turnover. We would post the sign for the entrance into the village that it is a bank customer only from banking hours, which are, thought we had them in here. I'm not seeing it at the moment, but we will definitely specify the banking hours. I thought it was 8 to 6. So we would enforce, under Section 4, during banking hours, the village would enforce the 20-minute turnover. The village would post the signs to the entrance. Entrances, there's actually another entrance on the side of the parking lot. We would just post that it is banking from certain hours, and then after those hours, it goes to a resident-only lot, and then we would enforce the parking lot for residents only,
It says it's 9 to 5. It's 9 to 5
9 to 5. And where is that?
on the website.
I'm drawing a blank.
On the website.
Oh, it's not on here.
Google, the Google.
That should be in here.
That's okay. Well, it'll be in the MOU.
It'll be in the end. So that's essentially it in a nutshell. We're looking to share private parking lots in peak hours. If this memorandum of understanding is successful, we intend to replicate that with various other private parking lots throughout the downtown area and possibly uptown as well. So this is the
Kind of a
test
model.
case.
I want to acknowledge the parking committee for bringing this idea forward to the village, and Alexia Poulos particularly for being the conduit, the liaison to the landlord
Yep.
and the tenant. And also, I just wanted to mention that it also doesn't only benefit all residents of the village to have a location to park easily accessible to Mill Creek area, Chandler Square, Harbor Square Mall, and the park, and tennis courts and all, but also the residents who live above Chandler Square and along Mill Creek have a very difficult time finding parking overnight. So this will offer, while it's not codified yet, the intent is to offer great relief to those residents as well.
Yes, thank you. And you reminded me that this is a three-way agreement between the landowner, their tenant, the bank, and the village.
Mhm.
And we have verbal and written acknowledgement of the terms, and we're set to go with actually turning it into a document that we can all sign.
Any questions on this?
It's a great idea.
Okay, we hope, is this crazy to think that we'll get this done by December 18th?
Not crazy. I was just waiting for the last set of terms, which I see are in here now, about the dedicated parking that Chase wanted to keep. I've had this term sheet for a couple of weeks.
Yep.
So I was just waiting for that
Okay,
last identification of the 8 spots they were keeping.
Okay.
Now that I have it, should be a fairly quick door.
excellent.
Great.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you, Andy.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.
I see Mr. D'Amato still isn't here yet, but that's okay. Andy, I'm going to ask you to come back up because, so Paul D'Amato has a hard stop at 5:45, so we're trying to keep the window open for him to be able to talk about what he would like to speak about with us before we go into a full-fledged, possibly 30-minute presentation. So, Andy, I wanted you and Stephen to sort of brief the board on what the status is. Oh, wait, never mind. Paul's here. Ta-da. No. Nothing holds this board up, Paul. All rise. Let's introduce the soon-to-be judge, Paul D'Amato, Honorable Paul D'Amato, who won his place as sitting at the District Court in St. James, right, representing
It's going to be in Hopog, Smithtown, so it'll be the 4th District Court.
4th District, which is St. James, Smithtown.
It's that area.
Is it Hop? Okay.
Absolutely.
And so congratulations again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. So Paul is in his role here in the village as the tax assessor. Yes, please. And he brought something to our attention last week, I think it was, about some updates about HOA tax. I'll let you use the terminology, but it's regarding HOAs in the village. And so there's some new laws related to the tax assessment where HOAs are concerned. So I wanted to
Trying to
ask.
shut this down so it doesn't ring, but I get it.
I'll keep talking till you're ready.
No, I'm good. I can go
Okay.
right now. Let's hope it doesn't ring.
All right, so without me further adoing, go
Okay,
ahead,
good.
Paul.
So let me just take a few moments of your time to explain where we're coming from, and then if there's any questions, you let me know. Under state law, since the early 1980s, they have assessed homeowners associations, co-ops, and condos as rentals. So many people know elderly people who are living in elderly communities, and you'll find out their taxes are really low. It's not because they're discounting them or that the units are worth so little, it's because they value them on an income approach like an apartment. So we have a homeowners association here in the village with 78 units. 74 of those units are all very similar, small, medium, and large, and I have had to value them. Now, when we valued another community in Port Jeff, there were no actual rentals. So it became a real dickering match as to what the rents were. In the particular case we're dealing with now, the Riviera, there are 5 rentals a local broker provided me with. Those rentals run from $3,300 to $3,800. So I adopted those rents and adjusted those rents to the small, medium, and large units. And I'm going to tell you it's 74 out of 78, okay? So the 4 others we'll talk about in a little bit briefly because they're unusually sized. So I valued them using the actual 5 rentals that we had in that range, small units with the lower rent, larger units with the higher rent. I feel that our rental estimates here are solid. If we were to get an appraisal and proceed to trial, I think those are the numbers that would come down. I used the market vacancy and collection because you have to subtract something from the income for the standard vacancy and collection. And I'm at 3%, my opponent is at 8%, that's in outer space. So I'm feeling comfortable with those numbers. I used a little bit lower than should be expense factor. The community does have a pool, it does have a large shed there where they store their chairs, they do have a little grassy mall, so they have some sense of a community up there, and they do have some additional amenities. Normally, an apartment complex, and I've settled apartment complexes, condos and co-ops for my clients, 30 to 35% is not unusual for expenses. They have to have a reserve fund for refrigerators, ovens, all of that. I'm using 25%, and I think we can get by the boards with that. My opponent is already at 30. So the next thing is you talk about expense, after the expenses, you talk about a cap rate. Without getting into fancy discussion, a cap rate is a rate of return for an investment. We have to choose what we feel is a reasonable rate. I've used the conservative rate because buying a residence in a fine section of Port Jefferson doesn't... Sure. Go ahead.
When you say your opponent,
Yes.
what do you mean?
I mean the petitioner's attorney.
So you're talking about an active court case.
That is correct.
I'd like to move this into executive session.
Okay.
Good thing you asked. Everybody wanted to ask, but,
Okay.
okay, so I did not know, I thought it was resolved. That's what I thought.
No, it hasn't been. I
Okay.
haven't made an offer yet because I needed for you to be aware.
Yep, okay. All right, so it won't be in an executive session because you have a hard stop at 5:45.
I have to leave here by about 10 to 6 at the latest.
Yeah, we aren't going into executive session for a while, so.
Can you go into executive session on an abbreviated basis now, or do you want to just chat with me about this another time?
Can we go into
I-
executive session on the 18th with this?
I won't be able to get back here another Wednesday because I'm
Mhm.
tying up
That's the
things here
issue,
and I'm
is the
tying up
Wednesdays.
things at the firm
Will,
as well.
will this session influence what happens next for you?
To the extent that some of you may say, do that or don't do
Some
that.
approval of this board, I think, to move forward.
Got it,
Right.
okay, thank you.
And it's not so much that I legally need the approval, but given the numbers I'm dealing with, I'm feeling that I want the board to know what I'm doing before I do it.
So I think we have no choice but to go into executive session right now.
Okay, right now?
Well,
Okay.
You have a hard stop.
I
We
would
have a meeting
appreciate-
to continue,
Sure.
so we can make this 5-10 minutes, yeah?
I think I can do it in 10 minutes, sure.
Okay. Do I have a
Okay.
motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. He's a fast talker. Okay, next up, we are going to invite the general manager for Port Jefferson Country Club, Tom Natola, up to present a proposal for the 25-26 season membership rates for Port Jefferson golf membership.
Good evening, is this on?
Yeah. Tap it.
There we go. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to present the rates that, for the country club for the next golfing season. So let's get started. The agenda tonight will be, I'll give you a brief history, the process and goal of the process that we went through, the membership categories, rationale, ancillary fees going in for next season, and the budget impact for next season as well. Okay. So we started the process with meetings early on in August, and both the CCMAC and the Board of Governors provided input for us. From that point on, we went out and actually did a competitive checking everything. And we figured out that in order to develop a revenue budget, we had to figure out what our expenses would be going forward. So Stephen and I, the treasurer, we worked on, I can't tell you how many different models to come to one that we agreed on, but looking at the end of the day, when we compared, each time we did this exercise separately, we were almost exactly the same in expenses. So I guess like minds think alike. We anticipated the operating budget to be roughly flat to this year, and then we built our expenses off of that. Using history of this year, membership usage and all, we were able to build revenue projections for all our line items. The one item that we left blank was dues, the biggest variable, to see where the shortfall was going to be with revenue against expenses and what we needed to raise for money on the dues line. Last year with CCMAC, we were able to take the membership categories down from 29 different categories to 20. It was too much confusion in the buying process for someone coming into the club. Again, this year we did the same exercise and we're bringing it down to 12. We will be eliminating, and I will go in depth on what we're doing, but the business category, the corporate category, the social category, the juniors we are, and I will get into that in a minute to describe what we're actually doing with the juniors. For the business and corporate memberships, both resident and non-resident, there was minimal difference from the regular resident rates. It was less than $500. So by eliminating those categories, we could move those people back up into regular weekday or full membership, either resident or non-resident. Social memberships, we had a total of 22, 11 in each category, resident and non-resident. The basis of a social membership was you got to use the gym, the driving range, the putting green, and come up to the tournament. It's a total of $11,000 worth of revenue that, as the members see it at the country club, we are very busy. Space at the driving range, space around the club is very well utilized by our members to the tune of almost 33,000 rounds year to date. The social didn't really do anything for the club. They were mostly people that came out to the driving range once a week or something, if that. So we felt that we could eliminate that category and simplify the buying decisions even more. Junior memberships. We created a new family structure. We currently have 53 juniors. Of the 53 juniors, 22 of them age out. Age out meaning turning 18 years old or older before April 1st. Of the remaining 30, 21 members, I believe it is, 17 already have parents that are members at the club. The remaining 12 or so members, what we decided to do was to close the junior category, reopen it under a family membership, so the parents, it could be a single parent or it could be a two-household parent, would join under their membership. The current junior members that don't fall into that category, we will grandfather in and age them out over time as they turn 18 or choose not to join or move away or whatever. So we will still have the basis of a junior membership, we just won't have a special category for the junior members. Again, we talked about the liability of having the children on the golf course. We have quite a few members that are between 12 and 18 years old in that category. Unsupervised, we try to supervise as best we can, but still, there is an issue on the golf course with that. In total, yes, ma'am.
Tell me about the liability issue that represents.
Well, we have minors that are actually members. The parents sign for them, but they are on the course without any adult supervision, without parental supervision, that the village could be liable for any incidents or actions that happen on the golf course. So the total of those 4 categories represent $96,000 in revenue. The corporate membership and the business membership, we feel, will move up into regular categories. The junior membership will be grandfathered, so we'll stay, as I said, we're aging out 22 of them as of January 1st. They turn 18 before April 1st. So we will grandfather them in at the same rates that we present for the rest of the membership, and they will age out over the years that they move along. So technically, we're not eliminating the junior category, we're just not adding any new members, and in place of that, we are putting a family membership in where they will join with their parents.
Tom, what's the age limit for juniors? It's
18.
It starts at
12 to 18.
12? Thank you.
There is one member that's under the age of 12, and per the bylaws, per the members' handbook and members' rules, if they pass a playability test with the pros, they can come on board. And we have one such member. And he turns 12 this year, so he falls back into that category. We are also going to propose an initiation fee for the new year. We have 2 issues that we need to talk about with the initiation fee. One is that the country club does not have a real capital account. In the case of a major catastrophe with the well system, with the pumping station, whatever that may be, in order for us, without a capital account, we would have to assess members, we would have to find a way to raise that revenue or take a bond out. Honestly, we'd like to avoid borrowing money if we can. By having the capital account, that money is segregated immediately by the treasurer into a separate account to be used for only issues of capital or emergency. The second is, every year, we lose anywhere from 90 to 105 members. The initiation fee actually makes you think before you leave, because when you come back, if you're out a year, you're going to have to buy in again. Now, is it as large initiation fee as some of the sister and brother clubs in the area? No. We're starting small. It'll be roughly $5,000 with the residents receiving the 40% discount. Cart fees. We surveyed the area, both private clubs, municipalities, and daily fee golf courses. I think only 1 club out of the 20 that we looked at had cheaper rates than we did. The average rates for most clubs in the area are $30 to $34 per cart per player. We are suggesting to increase it $2 to from $26 to $28 for the coming year. Guest fees, the same thing. When we did a comparison of rates, we saw that, again, we were the lowest. And then we have to look at this a little differently. So you have 2 different factors. You have a municipal golf course, you have a daily fee golf course, and you have private clubs. Each one is a different level of play. So the daily fees, if you excuse the expression, the mom and pop golf courses, they needed to run that cash register to keep revenue, to keep themselves going. So obviously their fees are going to be a lot lower. So you have to compare the services when you do this. And we found that we were low in the market again. We're not going to be changing the 9-hole fee. Just the 18-hole fee will go up $10, which will put us in the middle bottom of the market. We won't be right in the middle, we won't be top end, we'll be middle bottom, close to the middle. Outings. We do about 25 outings a year. Last year, we increased the rates by $30. We did not see any fall off in outing business. So here's another area that we can increase. We're only going to increase by $10 this year to help out the revenue flow at the country club.
That's per player,
Per
correct?
player, per player. Up on the wall, you'll see just a quick chart of what I'm proposing this year. So initiation fee for the residents would be $3,000, non-residents $5,000. Roughly 20 to 30% of that would be due upon signing of new membership. The rest would be spread out over the course of the year on equal payments. Full-time single golfers will be moving from $3,000 to $3,450. Non-residents are at $5,000 currently. They will be moving to $5,750. It basically comes down to about a 15% increase across the board with the members receiving the resident discount. The 9-hole pass rate will continue. The 9-hole pass for residents is basically the greens fee multiplied by the number of times, whether it be weekday or weekend, 18-hole and 9-hole. Dining credit, we're projecting to keep the same as last year and the last few years. The club assessment, the same thing. The difference in the club assessment for that's showing at $425 is for a single golfer. It's $425 per person. On the current family membership, it is 2 people, so it's $850, and that's why you see the difference in pricing on those two. Weekday guest fees are current 9 and 40 for 9 holes $45, and 18 are $80. We are going to keep that the same for weekday. On weekends, we will be increasing the 9-hole by $5 and the weekend fee by $10. And as I stated earlier, cart fees are going up $2 a person. 9 holes go up $1, 18 holes go up $2. When Stephen and I worked through the expense budget, we did many scenarios. And as I said, we came down to approximately $3.5 million. And again, this is a proposed budget because we're not in the budget season yet. But in order to develop revenues and have some sort of basis to substantiate the revenues, we had to figure out what our expenses were. So Stephen and I worked on it. We worked on a high-end budget, we worked on a low-end budget, and then we worked on a realistic budget that fell a little bit in between both. I currently have a 5-year capital plan that I'm working with Stephen on. The narrative has been done. The next phase will be to finish up the projected finances on it and then bring that to the membership for a vote to make sure they are on the same page. And that would be the end of it. Questions?
Quick question about the 9-hole pass and the 18-hole resident pass. Those rates are with or without card fees?
Without.
Okay.
They're strictly guest fees, greens fees, however you want to term it.
Couple of questions, Tom. I don't see anything in here for corporations.
We are eliminating the corporate and business membership.
What does that cost us?
Between the elimination of the social, corporate, business, and the juniors aging out costs us $96,000. But those business and corporate memberships are people that use the course quite a bit. It's a $500 difference, and we feel that they will move up into the other categories.
Okay.
Hey, Tom, my read on that is that we're, between those 4 categories, we're losing 96,000, and we expect to gain
About
just
100
over 100, right?
Yes.
So,
About $100,000 to $110,000, depending on which category they go.
okay.
And my other question is, with regards to juniors, there are no juniors going forward unless they have a guardian
Correct.
or a parent who is a
Correct.
member?
Correct. The current junior category, the ones that don't age out, are grandfathered in until they either age out or switch memberships.
What does the term grandfathered in mean?
Meaning that we're not eliminating them and removing them from the club. They will remain in place. They will go through the normal dues increase as any other member. But they continue on with their membership. We will not be adding nor be advertising or selling any individual junior memberships. It'll be a family membership with adults.
So for example, if I'm 15 years old and I've been playing for the last 2 years without a parent or guardian, I can continue to play without a
Until you
parent or
get to
guardian?
18 or choose not to become a
Okay.
member.
Is that for children who don't have a parent who's a member? Is that including them as well, or are
Yes.
we?
What, is that true for, is that true for residents and non-resident members,
Currently, we have
junior
both.
members?
Yes.
Do we see no, any kind of issues related to that on from an insurance indemnification perspective, or?
I'm always concerned about that issue, and that's one of the reasons why I brought this topic on the juniors up for indemnification for the village. I mean,
What do other clubs do?
most clubs do not have a single junior membership. You have to be with a family or with a guardian or parent under their membership. And the parent's membership is responsible for any of the actions of the juniors on the property.
So assuming that we've got, what, 17, I think you said, or was it 15?
Roughly 17 remaining.
Kids that do not have a parent who's a member, so they're sort of independent juniors, is that right?
Correct.
31.
No, that's the total. That includes
31,
member
but there's-
children
There's
and
a group
non.
that have parents of that
Yeah.
31 that are already members.
So 17 of them don't
Oh,
have a
22 have
parent
aged out, okay.
who's a
gotcha,
member.
gotcha.
What's the fallout? What would the fallout be if we just said, like, we're just not, we don't want to take the insurance liability. This is not, a place where you can, for however much the junior membership is, drop your kid off and like forget about them.
I would be afraid it would be a political nightmare. We've allowed the juniors at Port Jefferson Country Club for quite a bit of time. They've come to us from the high schools, they've come from us from the area community, some take lessons from Jake and Larry. Just to say all of a sudden, we don't want you anymore, I think would be,
None of that is what anybody would say.
right, but
No,
that's,
no one would ever say
Right.
this is about politics or about we don't want juniors, okay? So that, let's
So
just
we're just
establish
letting
that.
them age out,
We're talking about we're talking about,
reducing our risk.
how do we keep our risk low at the same time as maintaining what we've been doing for the last
I
40
believe we're
years.
doing that now.
Wait, hold on.
So if I heard you correctly, the lowest junior member is now turning 12, so in 6 years, the junior program will be completely eliminated.
Right.
Or is that 12-year-old's parent a member?
No, that
No.
12-year, the parent is not.
So that's,
So at worst
That's
case
the
scenario, that
timeline.
category will be, as you said, 6 years.
I'm just assuming you don't let them drive a golf cart.
You have to, we instituted last year, unless you have a valid New York driver's license, you are not allowed to take a cart.
Okay.
Any other questions from this board? We have a few people in the audience who are parents, and if you'd like to ask questions, you're welcome to, or members that you'd like to ask questions, and we will welcome questions and comments. But if you do want to make a comment or ask a question, we ask you to come up and sit next to Trustee Hill. That's the challenge.
Good evening.
And you can speak to the general manager mostly.
Yeah.
I mean, and us,
Oh,
but he's really
okay.
the person who's driving the whole project.
Understood. I took a bunch of notes during this.
Okay.
As I don't have children that are juniors anymore, And I find it almost unbelievable.
Name and address for the record,
Oh,
please.
apologize. My name is Matthew Franco. I live at 5 Avon Drive, Port Jefferson, New York.
Who plays for Maine?
My son.
Really?
Yeah. So, just to start with the junior members, we have children that want to enjoy the golf course. Have we ever had an incident with a junior member where we've been held liable? Has there been a lawsuit? Has something happened? I mean, you're bringing up an issue that I've never heard of. Have we had a junior member evicted from the course, caused problems? You've presented a situation, Tom, where you make it sound like it's happened. Has it happened?
Yes. Last year, we had juniors that have valid driver's license that decided on the 18th hole that they were going to throw the golf carts into neutral and go flying down the hill and lock up brakes.
Okay, now what happened then?
Grievance was filed against them, and their parents were notified. If it happens again, we would ask them to leave the club.
So how many juniors were there that did that?
4.
So we're going to punish the 53 for the actions of 4.
We're not punishing anyone.
Well, I don't mean to interrupt you, but you're punishing the entire community by saying, if you're a junior member and you want to use our community golf course, you can no longer do that.
Mayor,
to
if I
me-
may, and I don't mean to interrupt you, sir.
Certainly, go ahead.
Instead of them two having a back and forth, address your comment then to the board. If
Certainly.
it's a comment of dealing with the community at whole, which is the responsibility and why these people were elected,
Yes.
as opposed to a debate back and forth with
Well,
our
the
general
mayor
manager.
said that.
No, that's why I intersected.
And I have no
myself.
problem discussing with the board. Listen,
Thank you.
we represent, I mean, I apologize. You represent the community. And part of that community are the juniors that we've had since I've been here for 20 years. And now all of a sudden, we're going to tell the community, your children are no longer allowed to use the golf course. That to me, it doesn't make any sense.
I didn't hear that be said at all.
Well, it says that they're going to eliminate the junior membership unless your parent is a member at the course. If you're a person who doesn't golf, but your child likes the golf, they can't golf now in this next coming year.
Here,
Pardon me?
family memberships,
But if you don't golf and your children golf, they would not be able to do that going forward. That would be the first thing. I think that would be a major issue for many other people in the community, that children like to use the golf course. There's 50-some-odd children that use it. And they're young adults. I've seen them on the course. They just play golf. They do what they normally do, like every other person that's on the golf course. That would be the first thing my concern is. So I'm a member, my wife's not. So if my wife decides to join next year or the year after, I have to pay a $3,000 fee for my wife to join. If there's a problem with the course and we run into a situation where the pump fails, well, we'll do it like we've always done. We'll take out a bond, we'll do an assessment, and the golfers that use the course will pay it. That's just how, if we start this, I'm sorry?
I just want to ask Tom at that point, and this is where I'll
Certainly,
hopefully
jump
try
in,
and
Bill.
help steer the discussion. Is it the intent, if I'm a current member, and I'm, your term, grandfathered in, and I want to upgrade my membership, would that come with an initiation fee?
Going from
That's the
single-
question. Fair enough question?
Single to family? Is that
Single
what
to
you're-
family. It's an upgrade.
I would think no, that was an upgrade of membership, and there wouldn't be an initiation fee since there's already part of the family there.
Okay, so we're going to have a family membership that if my wife wants to join, there's no $3,000 fee. I understand that we want to generate a capital fund, but I can't imagine that the community is going to be happy about having to kick in an additional $3,000 over and above the rest of the community that are already members. I think it's putting an undue burden on the people that are not members currently. So, and if we're just doing that to get a surplus, that for the potential hazard down the road, it doesn't seem equitable and fair to the community when we could just as easily take out a bond or put an assessment in to resolve that situation.
There were two, I think he gave a couple of reasons why the assessment would be important. And one of those reasons would be for, sort of to encourage repeat membership, not to, join and then oh, I got a better deal over here at Baiting Hollow, oh, I got a better deal over here at Nisquag, oh, they're offering me a special deal, so, but you're invested in the club, it's an investment, it's such, it seems a reasonable and very low,
It's the same,
Initiation
it's the
fee.
same price that Belport charges for non-residents to join the club. They charge $6,400 as a membership and $3,500
and
to be.
they're the same exact model as the Village of Port Jefferson is.
Very similar, yes. But
Not
they also,
similar,
but they
exactly
also
the same.
have, they also have junior memberships. I just looked it up online. So when we say that the local golf communities don't have junior memberships, that's not accurate. They have a junior membership. If you go online right now on the Google and check it, you'll see it.
Tom, can you talk about the difference between what I see on the sheet here, a club assessment, and what that money's used for as opposed to what you would use the initiation fee for?
So currently, right now, they would kind of be used similar. Currently, the assessment is $425. That is to pay off the bond that put in the irrigation system in 13, and built a new maintenance facility. That bond is still going on until 2029. Building up the initiation fee would be by using an initiation fee, we'd be fiscally responsible to actually build that kitty. So if we had to go to that expense again, hopefully we would have the funds there and wouldn't have to go out and finance it and pay interest charges.
If I may, I just want to add that, hello, Matt, and
Hey, how you doing?
that government accounting best practices recommends that a club like ours has, and this extends to the village budget as well, right? So we're trying to build up at least a 7 to 10% contingency fund to minimize the amount of times we have to go out for debt or to do a bond. And why is that important? Because right now, our bond rating is really not that great. So our cost of funds, if we go borrow, is much higher than I believe it will be in, say, 2 years when we've improved our credit rating. So there are multiple reasons that the initiation fee is,
What was presented was that
being
we
put
lose
in.
approximately 100 members a year, whether they're resident or non-residents. If you increase the cost for a non-resident up to $5,000 plus their fee for the season, and you increase the cost of a resident to $3,000 because you want to build a surplus fund, I understand that. You will lose way more than 100 residents and non-residents from the club. You're going to price the people out of the club. So that we have to come up with a cost-effective plan that's not going to price us out of the market, because we are not the only show in town. And I think if we get to a point where we're trying to drive the prices to a point where we want to generate additional revenue, which I'm not against, it just has to be within reason. This is an enormous jump for residents, and I think you want to charge the non-residents $5,000? Okay, I'm okay with that, but I'm saying the residents that you guys represent are not going to be pleased with a $3,000 for you, but not a $3,000 for you. It's just not, I don't think it's going to go over well. I don't think it's fair to the community, and that's what we should be really taking into account, the community. It's a community asset. We pay property taxes here for the village, and to say to village residents, well, now we're going to hit you with an additional $3,000 to join the club when your neighbor doesn't pay that $3,000. That's going to be a hard sell. I would not want to be the person on this board that has to sell that argument to the community. On top of that, you're saying your children are no longer going to be allowed to join if you don't play golf here anymore, if you don't play golf here. These are two arguments that are going to really cause a major problem here in the community. And it's not for me to answer those questions because you guys are the elected officials. They're going to ask you, how are you making this about the community rather than a surplus fund? And if, listen, truthfully, if we have to take out a bond for the anticipation of a pump going down, well, then that's what we have to do. Then that comes on the membership at the club to absorb that fee. interest and the bond. And that's what we pay right now in that $425 a month. So if the pump goes down and it costs $300,000 to replace it, or whatever it costs to fix it, well, that falls on the golfers. We should not tax or penalize the community to try and develop a fund to offset a potential problem down the road. That's the golf membership's responsibility, and we should have to absorb that, not the community and not the children in our community that are not going to be allowed to golf on the golf course that we own, that we've paid taxes on, that is part of our community. It doesn't make any sense to me how we're eliminating the juniors and how we want to charge residents $3,000. I mean, you're putting neighbor against neighbor. One neighbor doesn't pay the $3,000, and I want to join this. Well, I have to pay $3,000. We're just causing a problem in the community that we don't need. And again, if we have a financial dilemma that presents itself, we'll do what we've always done. We'll take a bond, we'll put a special assessment in place, and by the way, we'll charge the golfers because they use the course.
Have you thought about how the current members, current residents, neighbors have been paying an assessment for the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years? Have a major investment in the golf course that their neighbor who's a new member has not done so? So their investment is firm, solid, in the tens of thousands of dollars through the assessment fee. And the new members can come in, all good, buy in, and then leave and go to another club without committing, which the assessment is a commitment. It's a commitment fee too. And it also, it's twofold. It's a commitment. That means you're probably not going to leave within the next 3 years or so because you don't want to lose out on your
Are you talking
your
about the
investment.
assessment or the $3,000?
No, the initiation.
The initiation fee, okay.
Number two, I'm talking about the assessment that current members have been paying for 5, 10, 15 years.
The $425 that
Correct.
we pay. Okay, I'm
And
sorry.
yeah.
I got
And then
confused with what you're saying.
the other aspect of it is so you want to help them feel invested in their membership, right? And then the other thing was what $3,000. What was it?
Can I answer that at one point?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll remember the next.
You brought up the $425 assessment that we pay, and now the people that pay that assessment every year, they use the course. That's our responsibility to pay it. The people that don't use the course that live in the village don't pay it because they don't use the course. If they, in fact, decide to join, they then become a party to the $425 we pay as an assessment. But right now, when they're not using the amenity that we own in the community, it's the people that use it are going to pay that assessment because we're using the course. They're not.
So
If
what
they
do you
decide
think
to-
will happen?
Pardon me.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No,
but
no, it's
what do you
okay.
think will happen if there is no initiation fee and they can leave? Why do you think we get 90, 100 people leaving every year?
I don't know that those. I don't know those numbers. I
Non-invested.
haven't seen those
There's no
numbers.
investment in the initiation fee is a deposit on a commitment. It means you're probably not going to just dump and run if you find a better deal somewhere else.
To give you an accurate answer, I'd need to know how many residents, because the non-residents are irrelevant to me. How many residents have part of that 100 people that leave every year? Because
a larger.
So from 2022, we went from 297 residents to 256 this year.
So that's 40 residents that left. So it's a,
What year were you
Just
quoting?
From 2022, end of year financials through this year, we've lost 46, 48 resident members.
And the waiting list?
But
Tom?
right now, we currently have 91 people on the list, 71 people are non-resident.
so
So we're losing 50 and replacing it with 20. For residents.
Right, just resident.
Ish.
So we're not really talking about 100 residents leaving. We're talking about 50 residents that are going to leave, and we have 20 on a waiting list to come back. And that's 50 over the past 2 years. So for argument's sake, it's 25 people a year.
It's a strategy.
But
Matt,
I'm
it's a
not saying
strategy.
that
It's
it's not a
not-
strategy. I'm
it's
just
not a
saying that
giveaway,
the
and it's not a-
residents
it's
should
not
not
a-
have to continue to absorb additional expenses.
Your point is taken.
And that's really what it comes down to. And if they, as you said, if you want to present it, if the board, and again, you're elected officials here, if you want to present it, that you have every right as our elected officials to present it, I don't know that it's going to go over very well. That would be my opinion, especially when we have options. Our options are, if we have a major failure at the golf course, we put an assessment in. We take out a bond, like we've always done. We've never had to put a capital reserve together and charge for the golf course that I'm aware of.
So may I ask the
Certainly.
treasurer what the benefit and the requirement of a capital reserve would be? I mean, you look at school districts, you look at any municipal governance structure, there's a requirement by the state controller's office to have a capital reserve, is there not?
Yes, it's the best practice to have at least 10 to 15% of a reserve fund, cash reserves as well as a capital reserve, so that you don't have to then go out to borrow. One of the problems with one of the issues that the country club has right now is that we have we're dealing with a deficit fund balance. And that deficit fund balance is a result of just a lot of years of more expenses being over the revenues. It has started to correct over the last couple of years. This past year, we did a recorrection with the revenue, but the problem is that if you don't have the cash on hand and you have a major problem, like a $300,000 well pump, that process to go out to bond could take time, could take a month and a half, could take a couple months to get out to, and you don't have the cash on hand to fix it, especially if you come into the lean months towards the end of the golf season, when you get all your money in the spring, and now you've used all of that money to operate all the way till you get to November, December. If you have any kind of an issue, then you're going to have a problem. You're going to have a cash flow issue.
Especially if it's in July.
No doubt, but now I had a conversation with Tom, and Tom told me that there was a calculation change, that we did not lose money at the golf course last year, that we made $300,000. He said that the reason why it looked like we lost money at the golf course is because they were working on a calendar year, we were working on a fiscal year. So the question is, did we lose $300,000 or did we make $300,000 on the golf course last year?
The last year was flat. We spent as much as we brought in over the past year.
In 2024?
Fiscal 2024. The calculation change involved, we collect money for the future year. So the year runs from April to March. We collect that money beforehand, right? So that money was being booked at the time when it was collected. Government accounting's modified accrual. What that means is you have to take that money, that revenue, and apply it to the period to which the expenses are then incurred, which would be the next fiscal year majority. So we had to restate the finances to fix that and defer the revenue properly so that the revenue now is in line with the operations.
I completely understand it. So Tom was inaccurate in saying that in the calendar year, not the fiscal year, but in the calendar year, the course did not make $300,000.
I wasn't privy to the conversation that you had with Tom.
Well, Tom's here, so he can
all I
answer it right now if you want, like.
All I can tell
I'll
you
answer
is,
it honestly. As I explained to you, we deferred $1.7 million worth of assessment and dues revenue, which made us, the financial look like we were almost 2 million short, no, 1.4 million short in revenue for the accounting practices that we had to adapt to the new accounting practice Stephen brought with us. So that money gets moved into this year. This year's money, when the dues money comes in, will also be accrued into 2026. It deems, because we collect money on a fiscal year and operate on a fiscal year, but the village works on their fiscal year, starts June 1st to May 31st. We collect all our monies in January, February, March, so we have to defer that those 9 months of revenue into the next fiscal year.
So I completely understand calendar and fiscal year. I understand the year, that what we do as far as the village. But are you saying that what our conversation we had, we did not make $300,000?
May I
Yes, certainly.
step in? Is it, the relevance is to the point that you're asking. The answer was, it was flat.
It was flat.
So that's the relevant question.
So, so at this point, I'm not quite sure what else there is to discuss. I mean, if you guys want to implement this program, I have a serious feeling that you're going to get a severe kickback from not only the residents, but the non-residents. And if you think I mean, this is just my opinion, if we have 71 people on a waiting list to join the course, and the motivation is to try and drive people out of the course by increasing these fees to generate, it sounds like we want to force non-residents and residents to leave by by generating this, and then somehow building a surplus by forcing people out, which doesn't seem fair. It doesn't seem fair, especially with the juniors. That, to me, does not make any sense. And especially to raise the rates on residents is just, I think it's almost unconscionable. I mean, we pay, and not only do we pay village taxes here, we pay property taxes here, and we pay a pretty substantial rate. And if we're not losing money on the course, why are we, and we just increased the rate 15% on a flat year that we didn't lose $1. Why are we now trying to tack on? And I understand what you're saying. You want to get a capital fund. Again, how much can you go after the village residents? How much more can you charge them to try and to participate in an asset we already own?
What would you suggest?
My opinion, if you want to put a $5,000 surcharge on non-residents, new non-residents coming into the golf course, that seems excessive, but that would be fine. To charge of residents that are not members $3,000, I think that's an absolute, that should be a dead issue. And if you're going to eliminate juniors, our children, from the golf course, when the example we've had was one incident of people with driver's license releasing the brake and going down the course. That's the big reason we're going to get rid of juniors. To me, that doesn't make any sense. Our children should enjoy what we enjoyed. We enjoyed the golf course. They should enjoy the same golf course. They should have the same entitlement we had. We should not eliminate them. These are our kids that live here.
Okay, so Matt.
If you want to
I
eliminate
hear
juniors,
you.
eliminate the non-resident juniors.
I mean, I think you've made your point.
Yeah.
I think it probably, part of the reason we do these as a working session first is so we can do things like, go canvass the membership and see how this lands. I mean, I think that probably is a reasonable request.
Like a lead balloon, it will land with the village residents. And I don't mean to be sarcastic, but it is going to be not great.
You
I'd
do
like
realize
to-
the golf course is self-sufficient, right?
Correct.
Financially? Okay.
Yeah, well, that's
Just
what,
wanted to make that point.
Yeah,
That's what-
and
that's
no
what-
taxes
that-
go towards.
no, I understand that, but people have to use the golf course. And if the Board of Trustees and the mayor are telling the community, by the way, we're going to approve the golf course to charge you $3,000 to use what we already own, I'm going to say that's probably not going to go over well.
Tom, this question's for Tom. How many are on the waiting list?
91 people, 71 of them are juniors.
I'd be very
No, no.
interested to see what that number would be if they were informed of the 3,000 and 5,000.
I would also want to see how many people would resign from their membership if they knew that there was going to be an initiation fee
If they come back.
if they do resign and want to come back.
That would be the opposite.
I think it's a retention program, actually.
I understand what you're saying. I get it. If we want to, we're basically saying that in 2 years, we lost about, I'm going to try and do the math right, maybe 10% of the village residents. That's not really enormous. But now we want to say for retention, we're going to charge the village residents, so let's say for argument's sake, this excessive amount of money on top of every other fee that they're charged at the course. It doesn't make sense to me. If you want to do it to non-residents, that's okay. But I think that has to also be within reason. Non-residents should not be penalized for it. I mean, that's significantly. I mean, Bellport, which is very similar to us, only charges $3,500. They have a junior membership. For some reason they're able to do it with 3,500 and have a successful junior membership.
So their juniors, I looked it up, their junior membership cannot play until 2 o'clock every day, right?
Okay.
Number one. Number two, which is, I think, was part of our,
What's our membership times for the juniors, Tom?
They had same tea time after 10 a.m.
yeah.
After 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Okay.
So number two, non-resident juniors have to be on a varsity high school team. But they can't join if they're
Again,
not on a
I'm not
varsity
here
high
to
school
defend
team.
non-residents. I'm here only
I'm
to
just
defend.
giving you the facts,
No, no,
you
I
know,
got
that
it.
that I learned.
But I'm here to defend the residents and the upcoming juniors and people that are moving into the community that moved here partially because of the golf course and saying, hey, wouldn't that be nice if my kids can come and play? But now we're going to say, no, you can't.
There are also, I would imagine, junior programs that go on at the golf course, like
Through the
junior
Village Center, yes.
Saturday,
lessons, trainings,
Sunday,
yes.
lessons, all kinds of things. But I'm not saying that to say that I'm not listening to what you're saying. I'm just bringing up new information to the conversation.
I understand that, but again, and I don't mean to be redundant, you can only go to the well so many times with the residents.
The well?
The well,
Which well?
not the well that broke. We have to, at some point, have some financial prudence. And listen to me, I mean, I'm not saying that we should not have a reserve fund, but if we had a neutral year and it didn't cost us any money, I apologize, I don't mean to point at you, then, that's a pretty good year for a golf course. That's not bad. So why are we eliminating opportunities to expand residents to play? So we're saying to the younger kids in our community, our future residents that are going to join the course, we don't want you if your parents don't play. What does that tell the community? It's terrible. It's a terrible, what's the word I'm looking for?
It's kind of family-oriented. Join, play with your mom and dad.
If your mom and dad don't play, if your mom is divorced. Listen, I mean, we have a lot of different variations in this community.
I'm divorced, I play.
I'm divorced and I play, but,
Okay, there you go.
but that doesn't mean my son shouldn't be able to play and my stepdaughter shouldn't be
Anyway,
able to play.
we get your point, Matt.
Fair enough.
We understand.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, guys.
Grant. Sure, come on in.
Thanks for.
Just
having me.
name and your
Sure.
address,
Yeah,
please.
my name is Grant Conley, and I live at 101 Jane Avenue. The golf course has been an important part to my family for a long time. My daughter played, my son plays now, and my wife and I had played for a long time too. So I just want to make a few points. First of all, I played so much golf with so many juniors, and they're great kids, and I don't want this mischaracterization of them because it's just not fair, and it's not true. From time to time, I've seen behavior by a lot of members of the golf course that have been quite inappropriate, and very often, it's not often the juniors. The juniors really, they're delightful kids, and they do a great job out there, and they're respectful, and to characterize them as somehow troublemakers on the course, which is what's happening here, is just not fair
That's
to them.
just what Matt said.
No, Matt
He
didn't
was
say that.
asking for it, and
No,
Tom
no,
answered,
no.
and that wasn't the
Well,
characterization.
No, it was a characterization. Is if to say when you say they're not being they're not being monitored or what have you, when they're out there on the golf course, they're out playing golf. I mean, they're serious golfers and they're into it and they love it, and they want to be a part of this. And I think that the junior golfers are like an important fabric of our community in the sense that like. You have all these kids that play golf in this very small village, and they go out there and then they play varsity golf and they're successful on the high school team. And it's because we afford them this opportunity. And I think that that's really something we have to be careful with, and we don't want to see that go away, you know? The other thing I wanted to speak about too was like in terms of the long-term junior membership. Like I have families that live down the block from me, and I know like I would love to see their son, who's only like 4 now, one day be able to join and not be a contingent upon mom and dad being golfers, because I think that that's pretty cool too. And what else do I want to say? Oh, in terms of people leaving the course, I'd leave the course as my membership because of health issues. So it wasn't like a cut and run. Like when people leave the course, to just characterize it as a dump and run, I think that's unfair. No, but that's when we use this kind of when we use this.
There would be waivers, I think, under certain circumstances.
Yeah, so,
Yeah,
but
definitely.
But
I think they talked about that in session, so it just wasn't
yeah,
mentioned here
well,
tonight.
it is what it is. But even financial issues, people have to leave the course for time. Maybe the kids go to college or like whatever, and they're like, "Hey, listen, we can't afford it. Can maybe we'll rejoin in 4 years?" And then like, I gotta pay this fee. I'm just thinking about my own college expenses coming up. Then, as far as junior times are concerned, it was 1 o'clock. They don't play. They can't play till 1 o'clock on Friday. I think was it Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I just wanted let everybody know the kids are an important part of the course, and they really bring life to the course, and I would hate to see that go away. Thanks. And I gotta go to a basketball game, so I'm not cutting running.
All right, thank you. We know the kids, like, we see the kids playing golf there all the time, Grant, you know that, and there are a lot of great kids playing golf up there, so. Look, your comments are well received, okay. Anybody else? Okay, thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Now I think we talk about it. Do you want to talk about this at all, Stan? Yeah, because I said we're going to talk about it. I mean, we're not voting on this tonight, but are there any other comments that this board would like to make after the comments that you've heard from the public?
I mean, can we agree that I think all of us, know people who are members, resident and non-resident, so I think it makes sense to just, do our own homework in terms of how people feel about it and then sort of share those amongst ourselves and
get back to the general manager?
Yeah.
What if we do that? What if we put down our own thoughts, submit them to the general manager, and then?
And I think that's the point of him presenting today.
I was serious. I would like to know how many of those people would still be on that waiting list if they were told up front what it's going to cost them. I think that would be a good indication.
I can't tell. We discussed.
Tom, come sit over here.
I discussed that with the board, and I discussed that with CCMAC and other staff members. We don't have a number until you approve it to tell them what it's going to cost. So how can I approach them and say, this is the fee? No one has approved it. It is not okay. It is not public, so I can't do that. In my projections, I figured 50% of the people on the list would not join because of the fee. And I think that's really high.
Tom, it would be helpful to me if you could give us what the current rates are.
He
You
did talk-
can
he
eat that.
did-
You don't have to give
He
it to
did
me.
mention them when he.
Yeah, he mentioned some of them, but
Here you go.
not all of them. Oh, okay, never mind, I have it. I keep this, or?
You can have it.
Okay,
I got
thanks.
plenty of them.
Okay. Just so we can do a comparison. Thanks.
Okay, so we have a plan to go forward?
Mayor, I just think it makes sense that if the individual trustees are going to be emailing Tom their various questions, that they also CC the clerk, so we can kind of get an idea of.
Perfect. Or you want to just run that all through the clerk and she can transfer it on to the? Okay, all right, that keeps it orderly. So be it. Thank you. Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
You can leave now.
Nice PowerPoint.
I had assistance, thank you.
Okay. guess we can move into, we just a quick update, and Andy Freeling, if you want to come up for a second, we were starting to talk about the parking rates that the Board of Trustees approved in October, just said it's being implemented now, so it's just an announcement of what people can expect for the next, after the next winter months for the shoulder season for parking fees and rates and enforcement.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, the Parking Committee did make a bunch of recommendations to the Board of Trustees, and the Board of Trustees did adopt several of those recommendations. One of the recommendations was to adjust the metered parking timing in the metered lots in the village. So the recommendation was to change the timing of the regulation, if you will, of the metering during weekdays. From weekdays would be free, and on weekends the metering would be enforced from 12 to 8. The parking on Main Street was recommended to be adjusted to 2-hour parking, and on Arden and East Main, I believe the recommendation was to go to 1-hour parking. There was also a recommendation to stripe 15-minute spaces on Arden and on East Main Street, and those have been striped. There have been an installation of new meter equipment that's been put in the metered lots. We've been making changes to the I did say that, the pavement marking, we took care of that. The timing on the metered, new meters has been adjusted. We're working through the details on that, but we believe that all the programming for the new meters has been taking place. We are in the process of doing signage. That is the last thing to be put together, but the signage that indicates the new timing in the metered lots is on its way. I think that's all the changes that have been recommended by the committee that we have implemented, or are in the process of implementing.
So we are printing new posters for the businesses and cards for the businesses, the library, village center, et cetera, to highlight the new time limits, and also parking will be enforced on off-street parking all year. It's all year.
I also forgot to mention that there was a recommendation from the Parking Committee to the Board of Trustees, which the Board of Trustees adopted, to make the Perry Street parking lot free of charge. So that's no longer a metered lot, and the intent is to try and draw parkers into the Perry Street lot now that it's free, and we're working with MTA to try and move people who are parking in the MTA lot that are not commuters into the Perry lot. So the intent was first to open up the Perry lot, and now we're going to work with MTA and figure out how we can move people who are not commuters out of that lot.
And DPW has installed a municipal parking sign at Station Street and Main Street
Yes,
to
thank
point
you.
people into that direction to Perry Street.
I overlooked that. I did have it.
That's okay.
Yes.
Hey, Andy, I have a question, and, well, actually, it's just, I'm bringing a message. There was one of our business owners on Main Street and a resident both pointed this out to me separately, so I just figured I'd quickly share this with you. The 15-minute spots that are around the corner from the Starbucks, is that Arden? Wait,
That's
what's-
Arden.
Okay. What they've both said to me independently is there are 2 signs around the handicapped parking, and the first one has the 15-minute sign also. So, like, on that first sign, the bottom sign doesn't make sense for the location it's at. I just heard it from 2 separate people, and I'm not telling you what to do, but
We'll take a
Just
look at that.
passing along.
Directional signage is a challenge.
Yeah, I
you
know,
know.
yes.
Arrows
Up,
are
down,
interpreted
arrows,
so many
exactly.
different ways. So we'll take another look at that and see if we
Yeah.
can make it clear.
I was thinking of just coming out there with some white out and, you know,
Don't
and
give
taking care of that
anybody
one
any
little
ideas.
arrow.
We have a
That
hard
would
enough
not
time. Don't
fly
give
with
anybody
our
ideas.
super-
No,
Superintendent
I know, and
Public
I
Works.
I believe that would be against my role as an elected
And
official.
then you'd have him to deal with.
Yeah.
Okay.
Arrested for graffiti.
Yeah. Oh. All right.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Andy Freeman? Okay, thank you, Andy. Okay, today I promised that we would start with our village clerk, Sylvia Perillo.
Thank you, Mayor. We have 10 resolutions this evening that are a little bit out of process. We have an abbreviated schedule, and I will explain why each one is critical, starting with resolution number 01-120424. This is a resolution amending two resolutions from last month's meeting that are referencing public hearings. In the resolution, we had written and voted on the public hearings being held here in Village Hall as usual. We had an excellent turnout last time, and we had a lot of participation, which is great. We're expecting the same thing for two public hearings. We're having actually two, not just one, for this upcoming meeting on the 18th. So it's probably best to move that meeting to the Village Center so that we can have enhanced participation and have everyone be comfortable. That having been said, resolution number 01-120424 is a resolution amending resolution number 26-112024 and resolution number 27-112024 is approved at the November 20th, 2024 agenda meeting of the Board of Trustees to revise the location for the scheduled public hearings to be the Village Center, 101A East Broadway, Port Jefferson, New York, 11777. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you.
Just quick discussion. I just want to verify and elucidate that there will be the requisite transcription services and stenographer, i.e., and also if we'll have live streaming and video recording of the meeting at the Village Center.
So as always, we'll have our live streaming. The transcriptionist has already been ordered. In addition to that, there remains another notice requirement.
Okay.
So we'll be noticing, I have two legal notices prepared already. We'll be noticing both of those venue changes in both our local paper and in Newsday.
Okay.
And we'll have signs on the door for people that aren't looking at that and can know to go to
Yes,
Village
if
Center.
they miss this meeting,
Right.
Newsday, the local paper, the website, there'll still be a sign on the door.
That's a good idea, Bob, to put
Just
a
put a
sign
sign
up
up,
on the
yeah.
door outside and let people know that are anticipating that the meeting's here and
Right.
didn't catch the change of venue.
Question. Do you, when some residents come here to attend the meeting, do they have to pay to park?
Not in the back.
Should we be?
No residents have to pay to park,
Residents don't pay.
actually.
Okay.
The non-residents have to pay to park.
So I have to pay to park that night to go?
Yeah.
You can carpool
I'll
with
park
me.
here and walk.
Park
You
here
can
and walk.
carpool with me.
I just didn't know if there would be a
It's a Wednesday.
fee to park over there.
There's no fee to park on Wednesday.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
it's
Yeah,
during the
right,
week,
no
too.
fee to
It's
park on a
There you go.
No fee.
No fee to park on
No fee to park on a Wednesday, very
You
good,
can park over there.
very good.
Trying to get ahead of any and all issues that I can see
Okay,
pop
all
up.
right.
You said that we're putting out another notice, though. Is that, I just want to double check that we're within compliance of whatever notice requirements we have to do?
Which is why I'm putting it in Newsday,
Okay,
because that hits the legal requirement.
okay,
And there's no, after that, there's actually no necessity to put it in our local paper, because it's a moot point legally, but we're doing it for transparency
sounds good.
and to make sure that all our residents are aware.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries.
The next, 2, 3, 4, 5, the next 7 resolutions are from the Treasurer's Office, and these are required at this time because they are all ARPA-related. As we know, our ARPA funds have to be obligated by the end of the year, and this makes it easier to undergo the process of purchase orders and the other paperwork and documentation required instead of doing so on the 18th. That makes it a little tight. That having been said, resolution number 120424, resolution authorizing Treasurer Gafka to create the following new capital fund line item, H71452001, Village Center Capital Repairs, well pump. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Thank you.
Discussion? Another well pump?
Another well pump.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Resolution number 120424, resolution authorizing Treasurer Gafka to perform attached budget amendment number 63, authorizing the use of ARPA funds and increasing projected revenue by $3,500 for line item A, 4089, federal aid other, and increasing appropriations by $3,500 for line item A, 9950.9, interfund transfer. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Resolution number 120424, resolution authorizing Treasurer Gafka to perform attached budget amendment number 64, increasing projected revenue by $3,500 for line item H5031, interfund transfer, and increasing appropriations by $500 for line item H71102001, East Beach Bluff Reforestation Pilot. May I have a motion?
Motion. Okay.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Resolution number 120424, resolution authorizing Treasurer Gafka to perform attached budget amendment number 67, authorizing the use of ARPA funds and increasing projected revenue by $15,148.72 for line item A, 4089, federal aid other, and increasing appropriations by $15,148.72 for line item A, 9950.9, interfund transfer. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Gonna
All
let
in
you do
favor?
it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Resolution number 120424, resolution authorizing Treasurer Gafka to perform attached budget amendment number 68, increasing projected revenue by $15,148.72 for line item H5031, interfund transfer, and increasing appropriations by $15,148.72 for line item H7145-201, Village Center Capital Repairs, well pump. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Resolution number 120424, resolution authorizing Treasurer Gafka to perform attached budget transfer number 20 to reappropriate ARPA fund overage by decreasing appropriations by $2,138.28 from line item H 54102051, capital sidewalk improvement, ARPA, and increasing appropriations by $2,138.28 to line item H 7145201, Village Center Capital Repairs well pump, for the total repair cost of $17,987. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Resolution number 120424, resolution authorizing Treasurer Gafka to perform the attached budget amendment number 69, authorizing the use of ARPA funds to purchase a sign-making machine for DPW and increasing projected revenue by $9,862.56 for line item A, 4089, federal aid other, and increasing appropriations by $9,862.56 for line item A, 51102, highway equipment. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Resolution number 9 was an add-on today, and it is regarding what we call a short environmental assessment form, which is part of SECRA. That's related to our grant for the Tooker House. A SECRA evaluation has to be performed as part of the grant, and this is necessitated to be submitted by the 20th, so that makes it a little tight as well. So with your approval, we have resolution number 9, 120424. Resolution approving the attached short environmental assessment form related to SAM grant number 25668 and NYS EDP grant number 25752 for the acquisition and restoration of the William Tooker House. making a determination that the proposed actions related to the acquisition and restoration of the William Tooker House will not result in a significant adverse environmental impact, and authorizing Mayor Shepro to sign the short environmental assessment form on behalf of the village. May I have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
Discussion?
Sure.
What's a SAM grant?
Sam grant is New York State, right? It's a New York State grant.
May I ask a question? Or actually,
Something I forget.
just bring
SAM has a
bring another
something.
piece of information forward. On my way here, I got a call from a resident who
You
lives
want to get
close to the Tooker House
Mhm.
and indicated that it appeared that it had been broken into yesterday or last night, so on the second floor. Some of the plywood seems to have moved, so I recommend we send someone over to
Okay.
check it out.
All right. Well, they called you when?
On my way over,
Okay.
at 4:30.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Same as state and
And municipal
municipal
fac-
facilities.
I'm sorry, say it again?
State and municipal facilities grant.
Where's the F?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
Motion
you.
carries.
Thank you.
Sam.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
Right.
SAMFA. Resolution number 10, similarly, is for a grant application, but it's for a different one. This is for the proposed Baxter project. We have a $250 application fee due. That fee has to be provided by wire. Treasurer Gafka and I worked with our grant administrator to create this resolution because, again, paperwork due on the 20th, so sooner rather than later. We have resolution number 10, 120424, resolution authorizing Treasurer Gafka to make a one-time ACH wire payment of $250 for the application fee related to the Empire State Restore New York Round 9 grant application for the proposed Baxter project. May I have a motion?
Motion?
Second?
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you all. Just to quickly hit on, I'm just going to hit just quick bullet points on my report. For bids and RFPs, the Flood Reduction Initiatives RFP was created. It was sent to the contract reporter. It was noticed on our local paper. It appears in full on our website, and hard copies are available through our office. Again, for bids and RFPs, owing to the already cooler temperatures, and predicted weather conditions, the stamped concrete project that we're undertaking will commence in early spring. We were trying for sooner, but it's not feasible. Going to the insurance facet of my report, we had a village-wide visit by Comp Alliance, who is our insurer, and they hit numerous points in the village. Bob, I'm sure you're familiar with this, to create what's called a loss control survey and let the village know where there is opportunity for improvement or what needs to be remediated. For the entire village, village-wide, we were only subjected to 2 points of improvement, both of which were already addressed and corrected.
Is there a financial impact to having addressed those?
No,
is
but
there a benefit
no,
doing
but
it?
there would be negativity to not addressing them.
No, understood. I was just curious, you know
Yeah,
me.
it doesn't
I
go the
just-
other way.
I'm always looking for the financial
doesn't-
impact.
No, it doesn't go the other way.
Okay.
Tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock, we are hosting for our employees, very excited to say, our procurement workshop. So the treasurer and I have been working with our financial consultants to get the PowerPoint finalized, and we have one, and we're very excited to be able to tell everyone what our procedures and policies are and to help them through all the processes involved with that. I have been taking courses, as we know, classes that are being offered by NICOM, and the next upcoming is Planning Board Proceedings and Parking. So those have been very informative, in addition to the usual election webinars.
Quick question on your
Yes.
report. And two of these bullets coincide. One's under permits and the other is under your requested resolutions for our next meeting. So it just brings to light that the DEC requested a a walkthrough, a visit of the clean-fill
Yes.
landfill
Yes,
over, adjacent to the Country Club driving range.
Yes.
It is under the jurisdiction of the Department of Public Works, that clean-fill is.
yes.
And as some of you may know, some of you may not know, but the state has changed the DEC has changed its permit approval process and the ability to have a clean fill at all. And even though our clean fill landfill is less than 2 acres, we still fall under the regulatory requirements. And we're in the process of, prior to me becoming mayor, there was some review, analysis, evaluation, and proposals to address that clean fill, because according to the DEC, there's a strong possibility that it will not be able to be operating anymore under this permit that is currently, has not been declined. It's currently still in place, but it expired in 2022. So, and that was, that 2 years ago. We've been operating with an expired permit, but not a declined application.
Correct.
So the application was submitted. So we've been working with PW Grosser on evaluations and potential plans. They presented 3 different options, all of which are extremely expensive. It's yet to be determined which of those options are appropriate, the right direction to go in. But our next step, however, which funding was approved about a while ago, in 2022 probably, when PW Grosser submitted an estimate for preliminary work to evaluate the clean fill landfill. Kettle hole, what do we call it, Stan? All three of the above?
Yeah.
We call it the dump.
Yeah.
Sorry, I asked.
No, we don't.
Anyway, so what we're looking at now is the DEC actually reached out to the village and requested a walkthrough of the facility. Our consultant, our environmental consultant, Peter Scully, accompanied by DPW Superintendent Steve Gallagher, walked the dump, and evaluated it. And our next step, which is a funded step, which is identified in the resolutions that we'll be asked to vote on the 18th, is to fund and authorize the preparation of the scheduled work under task number 1 in an attached proposal, not attached, but what it is it's soil samplings. So they want to see what is under the surface of the area and evaluate it and determine what the next best step would be, which approach should be taken going forward. So the DEC was happy with that status report, that we are interested in and funded to do such. As long as this board approves it next meeting, we will move forward with that with PW Grosser, because we already have the estimate and the task identification. So that task number 1 will be attached to the next agenda.
It will. The proposal is being updated, so it'll be attached.
Okay,
Once I receive it, I'll disseminate it to the board as well.
thank you. So I
You're
just
welcome.
wanted to bring that to the board's attention.
Thank you, Mayor. Any questions or comments on my report? Other?
I'll just be honest, that is, whatever we end up doing there, the proposal that we've received are 3 different options, and they're all very expensive. And whether we are required to do one of them remains to be seen. But once we understand what's going on under the surface of the surface, we will have a better idea of how we're going to have to move forward. We want to make the right decision, but we don't have all of our creative strategic consultations under our belt yet. We just have 3 proposals of 3 different options from PW Grosser, dated from 2022.
Okay, but I think What I'm hearing is it really all comes down to environmentals that are being tested. That'll help us make that decision.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, so now we can go into our monthly reports from trustees. Let's start with trustee Hill.
Public safety met, Public safety met earlier this week on Monday. We talked about the 3 things that you asked us to talk about. So the first being the viability of switching or looking at other alert systems. And I sent this to you and the clerk earlier today. But the committee was interested in setting up a protocol for when we would use the alerts, and then based on that, figure out which would be in a good alert system to
Remember
switch to.
when we went to Stony Brook and
Yeah.
we looked at what they were doing, and they talked to us about their Everbridge product? Did you talk to the council about that?
Yeah, I mentioned that we took the trip to Stony Brook. It was Everbridge, though, was the
Mhm.
name of it? Okay. And was that, or is that what you're leaning toward then, or did you want to look at the whole host of options?
I'd love
or-
the recommendations of the advisory council.
Okay.
Just to evaluate the different, to demo the different options. I think we had an option that was identified through Civic Plus, right? Our website content management system, and then Everbridge, and some organizations use Rave.
Mhm. We talked about Rave, too.
Okay.
And the county has one. I think it's Smart 911 we talked about also. But if you'd like kind of a menu of choices, I can talk to the folks on the council. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you can run demos past. They're all very qualified people to advise on these kinds of things, right? So we'd love to get their feedback on what they think would be the most responsive to the needs of the village, in seeing what circumstances we've experienced before, and based on what our environment is versus what a university campus environment
Right.
is versus a county environment.
The other one was a tabletop emergency demo. One of the members, Ryan Waters, is going to lead that. And then the last one was review the policies of the Code Enforcement Bureau. And then I had a question for you, if it was just that Chapter 11 in the code, or did you want other aspects of the code looked at?
So we distributed, I think, in the first month of this administration, the procedure manual, and that would be,
Procedure manual, too?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the code itself, sure. Procedure manual would be great to hear feedback about.
Got it.
The other thing I wanted to ask you about public safety, what was it? Oh, gosh. I should have wrote it down. I'll think of it. I can't put my brain on it right now. I'll come back to it.
Okay. And then the next meeting is January 6th.
Okay, trustee Giuliano?
All right. First up, we have the DPW department. Branch pickup, branches have been collected, it's all complete, and the department has started their seasonal leaf pickup routinely. They started that on Monday. They've conducted a lot of pothole repairs on various streets throughout the villages are ongoing. Street signs, they've changed or replaced worn and damaged street signs as part of the village's regular maintenance efforts. The village received $474,000 plus from Suffolk County Water, and I think the mayor's going to speak more about that, about the roads that were paved as a result of the money that we received. As far as parks update, seasonal decorations, they brought down the fall festival decorations and put up the Dickens Festival decorations. So one day ends, another day begins, and they got new decorations going on. Walkway repairs, they replaced raised bricks at the walkway at the Village Center. They've been repaired and replaced to ensure safety and accessibility. The Committee on Coastal Erosion, the committee is engaged, they engage in meaningful discussion regarding the goals, focusing on erosion, not only at the Port Jefferson Country Club bluff, but other vulnerable village areas. And they're looking to expand the scope of the committee. They want to look at the flooding mitigation, address the flooding issues that remain a priority, and updates in the village-wide, not just over at the country club. They've expressed a preference for reporting directly to the village board rather than as a subcommittee of the CAC. So I don't know, would we need a resolution allowing that? I mean, right now, they're technically a subcommittee of the CAC. And they want to have direct contact with the Board of Trustees instead of going, the village board, instead of going through the CAC and then having the CAC come and report
Want to
here.
be an independent committee and not part of the CSA.
I don't think that's a you question. I
No,
think
it's
that's
not.
a you question.
It's not.
A board question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if we want to resolve that the board approves of this request and this recommendation. So I would say yes, that would have to be a resolution. And I feel like it would be, and I think it's a good idea.
Mhm.
It's not a permanent status kind of commission.
Right.
It's over time, but similar to the Comprehensive Plan
Mhm.
Committee and also probably the Harborfront Park Committee. It's a planning committee, basically, and advisory, so commission.
Right.
So I'm all for that if we want to have a resolution on the next meeting agenda.
They should put their recommendations in writing, right,
Mhm.
for everyone to see. And that's be up to you whether or not you want to absorb that material when you get it and put it off till January, or look at it and vote on it same day with, I don't know when you'll get it.
Can we get it in advance of our next Board of Trustee meeting?
Sure, I can.
In that case, that would give us enough time to put it on the agenda.
There's another meeting coming up
There's another meeting tomorrow.
this week, right?
Mhm.
So we can share that with them and ask them to do that.
Mhm. And then, yep, there's another meeting tomorrow, 6 o'clock at the lower level of the country club. And then as one of the suggestions or one of the requests that they have is that the meetings aren't on the village website, so on the calendar. So that's one of the items for to talk about tomorrow, is to come up with the schedule for the 2025. As soon as I get that, I'll pass that along, and then we'll get that on there. As far as the Conservancy goes, they had a fundraiser, a very successful fundraiser. They had it at the Boogie Hotel, which is Nan Gazetta's base of operation, titled Suits and Silk Stockings. The guests enjoyed Charleston dance lessons, great food, great companionship. Rob Gito and Barry Warren were honored at the event, and it was well attended, and I think everybody really enjoyed themselves at that. And the last thing is, speaking of Rob Gito, I attended the grand opening of One North, the apartment building on the corner of Main Street and North Country Road. The building and the apartments are fantastic, and it's a great addition to our community, significant addition to our community. And that's all I have right now.
I remembered what it was. I'm sorry, Bob.
That's okay.
I have something else for.
So you weren't
ask you
paying
about.
attention when I was talking,
I
you were
was
thinking about. Okay.
trying to rack
Okay.
my brain. What did I want to talk to Kyle about? We had a very quickly turned around workshop on flooding mitigation for the commercial business district, C1 district downtown, and it was fairly well attended. One of the things that came out of that discussion was, how do we establish a system by which we are mutually made aware of, at the same time, when there is a flash flood situation, that we can actually notify the village and set up blockades of some sort, or some sort of alert system or alarm system that's either technology-driven, which in the rain, I'm not sure, or it's a blockade, but who and how does the village help respond similarly to the way that the fire department responds and EMS responds and the police department responds if needed, and the code department responds. So I know that if it's overnight, Department of Public Works is notified, code enforcement may be notified, may not be able to respond, typically has responded. But that is sort of, maybe that could be the subject of a tabletop exercise.
As you were saying it, I had the same thought.
Okay.
So.
All right, so maybe we look at that as our, okay?
Mhm.
All right. Okay, Trustee Ugrinsky.
Okay, so obviously I continue to work almost daily with Stephen, treasurer. But I want to report out on what the Budget and Finance Committee has been working on. So, we've, just to recap, they put the rec rates to bed. We all voted on those. There are some, stragglers that are coming out of the woodwork that have to be addressed, in terms of, like, for example, we were on a call with the school district today. That actually lands more on the rec side. So Stan, I briefed Stan, but he'll be part of those discussions going forward. I had already asked the school to include him on that Zoom. But so we're just trying to balance out, for example, anything that is parent-teacher related or affiliated directly with the school. We are trying to ensure that there's a balance here because the village is using school facilities for certain activities. We'd like to continue doing that. And what we've agreed to with the school district is when they're using our facility, they're going to cover, the manpower and cleanup or janitorial as we do when we use the school facilities. So we're trying to improve that relationship and sort of get to, I won't call it a quid pro quo, but just something that's fair to everybody. And it's being well received. So that's a positive as far as that relationship goes. The Budget and Finance Committee is really now focused on getting everything under their belts that they need to prepare to assist the treasurer with the 2026 budget cycle that we will be going into shortly. And another note, I have supplied the clerk with all of the earlier minutes that I could get access to, and I'm just going to make sure we get into process that you just get it as it's going out to the group. We're still with the treasurer working on getting to a monthly financial report that can be distributed to the Board of Trustees, and then by extension, by department to each of the department heads so that they can, get acclimated to managing also to a monthly financial report in addition. And I think that probably would be something that you would be discussing with them at the departmental meetings. So would like to get that.
Or someone will.
Yeah, well, we're struggling to get that information out of the current computer system, but I am confident that we'll get there in short order. The other items that they are doing analysis against are, one is the Port Jeff Country Club, a number of items. So we're reviewing the pro shop, all of the policies around purchasing, discounts, inventory management, and two of the members, Eunice Morado and Carl Jansen, are teaming up to tackle sort of that inventory management recommendation for the pro shop. And the full group is working on a year-over-year comparison of the pro forma 26 budget that the treasurer has worked on with Tom, just to get acclimated to doing that kind of analysis and in advance of having to do it for the entirety of the general fund and the capital fund. And so that process is going to flow hopefully seamlessly into our budget cycle. The other outstanding item is contract spend. We're really just getting started on those items. And the last item is we're also doing a tax rolls analysis, and that came up. So Irene Rios, who is one of the Budget and Finance Committee members, also sits on the Economic Development Council. So she and I were coordinating on an analysis to really understand, for all the apartment buildings that have been built and the IDAs that have been provided, what revenue, if you were to calculate what revenue we would have gotten versus what we are getting, and what negotiations were done for, say, payments in lieu of taxes, or an effort to keep us whole. I think going through that analysis is going to put us in a much better position to negotiate with the next building developer that wants to put up an apartment building, right? And I think, if I think back historically, I think our village approach had been, let's see what we can do for the developer. And I think really that question needs to be, what does the developer bring to make Port Jeff a better place? And I think this analysis will arm us to more effectively have those conversations. And let's see. And part of that analysis, I think, is going to be illuminating, and this is content that I think Andy probably has, in his head already, but I think it bears doing the analysis against it. When you think of us as a 3 square mile village, if you add up how many nonprofit buildings there are, between, Catholic Health and Mather, and, that this is not to say we're trying to take anything away, but we do want to understand the impact that that nonprofits have on our overall tax base, and what the implication is to our residents of that, so that, again, as we're considering changes and we're considering sort of what we're doing with open space and, assessments, et cetera. This impacts, for example, the assessment of the power plant, which is, the linkage there is obviously to the power plant working group. That these things are all connected, and we're as well informed as we can be as we make decisions that really impact all of these different financial areas. So that's what the group is doing. I could not be happier with the group that's assembled now. They're bringing their specific skill sets to the table, and it's just they're a joy to work with.
I want to say a lot about what you just said, but I'm looking at Bob because of the Erosion Commission. I'm looking at Kyle because of the Public Safety Advisory Council and the work you're doing. The number of people that are on that council, I think we have a space. We have a couple people who have submitted their interest in volunteering and need to evaluate those applications. But, we have committees and councils and resident participation in everything that we're doing. And I think it's amazing that there's so much interest, in the quality of the participants is exceptional, exceptional. So
Ma-
they bring their
yeah.
expertise where maybe we don't have as much, bring their perspective where we could never bring that. So,
It also extends our ability to get all of this work done,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And what I'm finding, like, this is sort of the hidden gem in all of this, is, for example, Irene sits on the Economic Development Council and, you know, and the Budget and Finance Committee. You know, Ryan Waters sits on the Public Safety Council, and he's working on the Port Jeff Power Plant
There's a connection there,
Committee.
right?
Like,
There's
I'm starting
core-
to see triangulation
Yeah.
happen
Mhm.
in ways that, you know, I think it's gonna make magic happen. So it'll be, at the very least, it'll be very good for the village.
And that's kind of where the Erosion Commission came up with the idea of consolidating, you know, and because there's a lot of people who sit on the Conservation Advisory
Right.
Council that are actually on the Erosion Commission. And they just don't want to duplicate or cause redundant, time-consuming processes. So I think that recommendation makes a lot of sense. So I'm just, and looking at Stan too, Stan, it's your turn to go on your report, but you know, you sit with the Parks and Recreation Advisory Council, and there's a lot of, you know, deep interest in what's going on with Parks and Rec and Village Centers, so, and they all interconnect in
Right.
economic development and, anyway, so
If I
Stan, go
could,
ahead.
before Stan goes, as
Okay.
far as the IDA, that's a subject near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
We could put a code change in so that as the IDA comes in, we're not losing money.
And we're not
So-
required to grant it.
No, we don't have a seat at the table, that's the problem.
Exactly,
You know,
yeah.
the villages cannot, you know, in Nassau County, they sit at the table, they don't have any input, but they cannot, at least they know
Yeah.
what's going on. Suffolk County, they don't. So I will pass you along a proposed code change that we can enact so that we're not losing any money. So,
Yeah,
we're
let's
being
do
made
that.
whole.
I think
Or
we
it
have the
won't be
opportunity to
overlooked.
Right.
change, you know, how we've interfaced with developers in the past.
And I know the county is also working on something like that, but I think it's taking a little time for them. So if we can do something, you know,
That-
sooner.
Out of, like, Sarah Lansdale's office, or like whoever?
The county legislature,
Okay.
Yeah.
Legislature.
yeah, legislature.
I would love to
Before-
talk to you further about that.
Before I go into my report, it's.
Hold on, sorry. Sure, come on up, Andy.
I'm sure you will do this, but I would recommend that you bring in the developer contingency to talk about their use of IDA. We're looking at several projects uptown that may not happen if they don't get an IDA. And when you're doing the cost-benefit analysis of revitalization of a certain area, you might have to sacrifice and allow some IDAs to come in. But I would love to see your schedule of the revenue.
Yeah, I've been working with Paul on that.
Okay, because my impression, talking to some of the speculators, are it's not as we may see it. We may be getting revenue that we wouldn't have gotten if they didn't get an IDA. So I think there's
Agreed.
a balance
Yeah.
and.
No, I
on
think
both
that's a fair observation to make. Like, we also need to understand, one, the IDA process
Right.
completely, and then two, how developers have used it to actually get some of these projects done. But the missing piece for me is, you know, how does it keep the village whole? Right,
Just
and
wanted
I
to-
think it's a fair negotiation to make, but I agree, we still have to get smarter before we can make decisions against stuff like that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sounds like you'll be consulted at some point.
Okay, here we go. This is not part of my report, but it's related to what we've been talking about. This letter that we got from the North Wind Group. Are we doing anything with that?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You got a letter here I believe.
Are you presenting this as if you want to discuss
No.
it, Stan?
Well, I'd like to know if we're going to do anything with this. We're talking about money. We're talking about
You need to start from the beginning.
Can we just read it out?
it went to every,
It's not a
it went
long
to every
one.
trustee.
Yeah. Let's just read it into the record, I
It
think.
went-
Is
it
that
went to-
all right?
Can I see it?
Yeah.
I don't know yet.
It went to every trustee. Wait, I'll take a map off the back of it so they can look at the map while you read it.
My personal opinion is this is not ripe for discussion yet. But that's-
Yeah. Is it, can I just see that email? Thank you.
It's the email from last
Oh,
Friday you're talking
yeah,
about, right?
no.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. So we need to discuss that internally. That's been an ongoing topic, and they have been, the three civics,
We don't,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, let's not-
we really
Yeah,
want we want legal counsel to give us advice on this
Not
and.
ripe for discussion yet.
gotcha.
We're going to go to the recreation and the village center, okay? This Friday, December 6th, is Residents' Night up at the village center. Residents are invited for an evening of free ice skating, a visit with Santa, festive music, some cookies and hot chocolate. This starts at 6 o'clock, and we're going to run until 8:30. You guys are going to be serving hot chocolate and
cocoa.
cookies,
Yep.
we hope. Residents' Night is followed by the 28th Port Jefferson Village Charles Dickens Festival, which will run all day Saturday and Sunday. The Recreation Department has set out a survey relating to interest in a preschool.
Can I interject 1 second?
Sure.
While you're on Dickens?
Sure.
There's 3 lantern dedications on Friday night as well, beginning at 5 o'clock. All the trustees received that email.
Yeah,
Everyone's welcome to
Right, so
attend.
starting with
The Gazettas,
the Gazettas.
There-
across the
there
street
was a
from
schedule change
the
there.
Boogie Motel,
Right.
Hotel. And then Cardillo's is outside of the salon, and Jolie Powell's Real Estate. And then up to the Texaco Avenue with the background as the Army Navy store where the Sabatino's family's business was.
Yeah, the pictures were quite helpful.
And that starts at 5.
5, then 5:40, I'm sure there'll be blockades put up in the areas where needed. We'll have a photographer, and each family has a dedication sort of ceremony that they've prepared. It's very touching.
wear
Very touching.
your Dickens outfit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And characters arrive and make it festive as well.
Okay, the Recreation Department has sent out a survey relating to interest in preschool program at the center. This is for the residents now. If you have an interest in this and you have children aged 2 to 3, please contact Renee Lemmerman at the Village Center. We finalized the Winter Tide Concert Series schedule. And that's going to begin on February 7th. I know that's quite a ways down the road, but put it on your calendar.
Presented by St. Charles Hospital.
Yes. It's going to be every Friday evening from 7 to 8, and it'll run through March 28th. The concerts schedule can be obtained through our website, or you can call the center. The annual Festival of Lights is ready to go. We have 30 trees this year. I think that's the most we've ever had up there. It's something to see. Programs for seniors are going to begin on Wednesday, January 8th. We have a good variety of programs, and the times vary, so I suggest that you check the web or call the center, because these programs are not all on the same time slot. The indoor programs all started on February 7th at Scraggy and at Spring Street School. They're running at capacity. As a matter of fact, we have a waiting list for adult tennis and pickleball. So we are really in need of more facility, which is something that we're going to work with the schools on. They are very, very cooperative with us so far. We've had good use of the Scraggy Hill School and the Spring Street School, but we're looking for more gymnasium space. The Parks and Recreation Committee, along with the Finance Committee, Zena covered this, but we've updated all the rates connected to the Village Center. The Village Board approved them on November 20th. I'm not sure that we have the not-for-profit list finalized.
I thought, so the list that, that was on the attachment, I know we had gone through a number of iterations on that with corrections. And I believe the final list is the one that you handed out,
Okay,
Stan?
all right, that's
Yeah.
good. Okay. The skating rink, they're up and running, and I don't know what connection Tommy, the manager, has with Mother Nature, but all of us,
Turns her on, he turns her off.
all I know is it was 70 the week we put the boards up, and now we're in the 20s, and a lot of people are skating. Some update on the school working group, some questions that maybe we can answer, maybe we can't. We met with the superintendent, and we met with 3 board members, and they did make some recommendations, and I don't know if, maybe I should have talked to you, Bob. They recommended putting signs, no standing signs, on the opposite side of the road from the high school. I don't know if that's possible or not. They've asked me the questions again. I know they also recommended assigning 2 code officers. I know that we're in the middle of negotiations, so that's gonna wait.
We're in the middle of negotiations?
Are we?
But why does it have, either way, if it's a public safety concern, it should.
Well, the problem is that we don't have code officers working from 7 to 8 in the morning.
They don't come on till
And
10.
that's gonna
Yeah,
be,
that's not a
that's
possibility.
gonna be part of the, we hope.
As far as a no standing sign, that would be a code change, right?
Yeah, that's a code change. That would be a discussion, right, with Bob, DPW,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and a recommendation and a public hearing and the whole 9 yards, right? So who wants to lead that?
Yeah, talk to Steve about it first.
Okay.
And the last recommendation they had was to consider or create a way to have one side of the street parking on Longfellow Road during special events such as that section track meet and home football games, especially homecoming. I don't know how you would do that.
Blockades,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It'll only be a certain time of the year.
Yeah, and that's my report.
So they're identifying problems. Do they help come up with recommendations for solutions? I mean, I know they're identifying a potential solution, but an implementation of that solution, is that even a possibility? Is there, I mean, I guess that would be, if you wanted to investigate that, that would be the next step. So maybe you and Bob work together on seeing
Yeah.
what possibilities are with DPW and
it seems like all of their recommendations are village responsibilities. They do have a crossing guard up there now, and we were successful in getting another crossing guard from Suffolk. Yes. The answer is yes.
Okay.
Well, Dave, if we wanted to enact, like, no parking on a certain street for a certain time, the board could do that, right? We just, as long as we had notice of when the event is.
Correct.
Close a village street.
Right. Right, we could just say no parking on South Side or whatever.
Is that to accommodate foot traffic, or?
Would be parking.
Oh,
Is it
okay, it's to
parking?
avoid people parking and making it so narrow that other cars just can't get through. Got it.
Okay, come up with I think it sounds like there's a recommendation in the works here.
Yeah, I'll talk to Steve about the no standing, then see
Okay.
what he says about that.
Stan, it came to our attention that there's an emergency meeting being called of the Parks and Rec Advisory Council to evaluate a new system for making reservations with recreation programs and whatnot.
Yes, Renee called me today when I was on a ladder putting lights on a tree. It's about the reservation system.
Mm-hmm.
The village wants to change over. They're going to meet and discuss it. Renee is very happy with Rec Pro. They've been using it for years. But no one else uses it in the village.
She said it ends on September 30th, 2025. Is that the right date?
My understanding is that the contract ends in September of '25, and the reason she's bringing it up now is there needs to be enough time to do a proper evaluation, and then, if there's an approved changeover to another piece of software, there's got to be time to do an implementation,
Mhm.
and,
Do we need three or two?
I think, yeah.
So we need two. My understanding is that the Rec Pro was consumed by another Daysmart, I believe is the name of the company, and so there's a transition period that needs to happen. So there needs to be a change because Rec Pro is not going to cease to exist as it is. It's turning into Daysmart, so that.
Does that require us to make a change in our contractual agreement with the company?
So this, because of the amount of money we're talking about, it's just two quotes. And then on an annual basis, once we have the proposal, we could put it in front of the board to vote on so that it could be signed off on since it's a multi-year agreement. But we only need a couple quotes to.
It also seems like there's some okay, so I was unaware that they had been acquired by another software company. So I would include in the analysis, or recommend to Renee that she also understand what the software company is planning for the future of that product. It's unusual for someone to buy a product and then to shut it down, right? To immediately sunset it unless they have something that immediately replaces it. Okay, so that's got to be part of the analysis, yeah.
Was there a demo of that software?
Yes, she did a demo.
At the same time they did the demo with Civic Plus?
I don't know if it was at the same time, but I believe she did a demo with both.
So, yeah, let's just get a little bit more information about this, and
I don't have any.
I know. But I know that there was some back-end work done a couple of months ago. So whatever that, we just need to understand it better.
It sounds like there's some runway, though,
Yeah.
I mean, we're starting on that now, it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like I interpret that she is looking for getting the work done in a slow time, which is like January, February.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why she's feeling the urgency, because then everything gears up.
Is it going to be linked with the golf also?
No. I mean, it'll do everything that it's currently doing. We have to manually, on the treasurer side, move stuff out for the golf and put it to golf when it goes through recreation.
So it's only going to be,
Oh, you mean golf programming?
Yes,
Is that what you're talking about, Stan?
yes.
Uh-huh.
yes.
Why don't you have a meeting about this? Instead of, like,
I wonder
get
if
the
there's
experts together, and you're gonna have a meeting with Parks and Rec, but all of this should take place before that meeting presentation,
Yeah,
right?
one of the requirements, I would imagine, is that there's an API so you don't have to manually move things, or, so that whatever's chosen can at least connect in a data flow kind of way.
Again, details,
Now,
we're
the
not gonna be able to
reason I
resolve
ask
that
is
here.
that golf is kind of dormant during the winter months,
Mm-hmm.
so maybe
A good time
Yeah.
to do that sort of, I call it a bake-off. Yeah, it's a bake-off.
All right, so please, Stephen, can you connect with Stan and Renee and sort of pull together that, so it's an organized, easily understood
Yes.
next
have to do
step?
that prior to any meeting.
Your mic was off. All right, are you?
I'm finished.
So first thing I want to mention is the amazing work of the Suffolk County Water Authority. This is really Bob's area, but it's sort of intergovernmental too, so I asked to talk about it tonight. And we had a great collaboration with Suffolk County Water Authority, where they repaired a lot of the water mains, water infrastructure under certain roads in the village. We all know what roads they are, because they became very problematic to drive on, and not the stability of them, but they were just very bumpy and difficult traversing. And the Water Authority came to work with us, Department of Public Works. One of the residents who lives on one of the streets, Mark Lyon, was very instrumental in making this happen as well. But the Water Authority came to us and said that they would help us not help us, they would just actually cover the cost of repairing the roads, all the roads that, under the work that they did over the course of the year, on time and on budget. So we had a bit of a photo op about a week ago at the corner of Dark Hollow Road and Liberty Avenue, where one of that road is probably the worst road. Maybe it isn't. Maybe they're all just that bad, but a lot more people drive on Liberty Avenue than the others. But they're repairing the roads, curb to curb paving, for a cost of about almost $500,000. They've covered the entire nut, delivered the checks at the photo op, and the roads include East Broadway, Jones, William Street, Avenue A, Division, and Liberty, and Nicholas. So by the end of the week, all those roads should be repaired curb to curb, weather permitting. If not the end of the week, a little bit into next week. So we're just very grateful to the Water Authority for doing that. It was very unexpected. And Stephen came up with a great data point on our expenditures for paving this year.
Thank you, Mayor. So as you know, we had our 2025 paving program, and with what is currently going on, the village will have spent in total $1,032,000 on paving, of which only $68,000 fell on the taxpayer dollars from the operational budget. We received $115,000 from National Grid. CHIPS will be $373,000, and then $474,000 from Suffolk County Water Authority. So that amounts to about 6% burden on the taxpayer, which is excellent.
So gratitude to the utilities for helping support the infrastructure of the village. It's
Yeah.
great appreciation. We heard from a little birdie that Main Street will be also repaired in the coming days, months, weeks, not days, not months, but weeks. And that patchwork is pretty bumpy too, coming down from the train station into Stony Hill Roadish area, or High Street. So that's a National Grid project, I believe, or PSE&G combined. Okay, so our roads are going to be good for the winter, well enough for DPW to be,
To be plowing.
moving the snow, right? So the Economic Opportunity Task Force met for the third time, but last night, the Economic Opportunity Task Force meets following the Business Improvement District meeting, the first Tuesday of every month. And it sort of, the people who are in both sort of coincide with the same interests. And what we're sort of focusing on in that group is the upper Port Jeff area, south area of the village. And they are, at the last meeting, they're starting to gain some steam with some work product that they want to produce, with Andy Freeling as the staff liaison to both the bid and the Economic Opportunity Task Force, with his knowledge of the speculation going on in Upper Port and Lower Port as well, downtown, uptown, north and south. So one of the things that the task force is interested in seeing was sort of who operates the landscape in uptown area, and how can we help, how can we work with them? What are the options? And then he updates the group on some of the speculation that's going on, some of which is spoken about here with the grant application we're looking for with Restore New York, Stage 9, number 9, that we're looking to get some funding from the state to help demolish a certain area of uptown on the west side, south of the laundromat, right? The cleaners. And then just a couple of blocks up. So that's an area of interest. They talk about what's happening with the Conifer 2 project. Right now, the Conifer 2 project is looking to close on the purchase of that property. So we're waiting to hear when that purchase comes through, so that the grant that was awarded to start the demolition, to pay for the demolition of that property, it's $1 million grant, can be implemented. But their village can do nothing at this time. No one can do anything at this time until the building is actually closed on, right? The deed is transferred. So next steps for Economic Opportunity Task Force is really, the meetings are, as I said, the first Tuesday of every month. Andy is submitting the meeting schedule to our web content person, who will post it onto a page that we are dedicating to that program. We are next going to, the task force also asked the planning department to try and identify, what was the other thing, Andy? Correct. Uh-huh. Okay, so what we're doing next is looking at the comprehensive plan, and they're going to start working on, with Andy and Marie Parzial are going to start working on the low-hanging fruit of the comprehensive plan as it relates to the south area of North Country Road, between the tracks and North Country Road. So that's what we anticipate to be looking at. And again, we have a group of members who are starting to gel and come together and looking at what is next for south area of Port Jefferson. So, a couple of other items that I thought would be interesting to this board is, there was a public hearing of the planning board last month where what was discussed was a project that is sponsored by, I think, the town of Brookhaven or United Way, and being facilitated with the town of Brookhaven at 1 Reeves Road. The public hearing closed, but it is available to view on the Village YouTube channel. I encourage this board to look at that because it was something that was, there's a lot of sort of interpretations of what that property is going to be, what is being proposed for that property, and I think there could be some clarifications and understandings. The property's proposal is to develop two-family home on I think it's a 3-acre parcel, and it is just restricted to that plan, 2 families. And as the code goes, that's the code defines what a family is or what's allowed in a 2-family dwelling. So I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about what that is, but we'll see what the planning board determines as we go. The planning board is not meeting in the month of December that I know of, nor is the zoning board of appeals. But the meeting in January will take place. Let's see. So we have a couple of updates on the grants, we received the, this is a very huge milestone. We received the executed contract from Suffolk County for the Jump Start grant, which is the Mill Creek cleanout project. So we're in the process of working on the RFP for that. So that's very exciting. It's going to be disruptive to the area behind Village Hall, next to the tennis courts. Over the course and time frame depends on how quickly we get the RFP out and responded to, and how long the project could last. It's hard to say. But that RFP is in the works. We have an RFP up and out that expires at the end of this month. And that is for the hazard mitigation grant that involves the area between the firehouse, Village Hall, and Barnum, that triangle. So that's hazard mitigation study. It's an engineering and then planning grant. That's for $300-something thousand. Jumpstart is for $500,000. There was one other, the Tooker House. We keep getting, we keep responding to the request from DASNY for another document, and we continue to respond in time, in quick turnaround time. The one that we resolved today for the SECRA EAF was received today. We responded today. We'll get it back to them, and hopefully they'll come back to us and we can do a closing on that house. We want to do a closing event on that house. So, and everybody will be invited, past, present, future. Because that was not just this administration's project, right? That's a project that started long before we came in. And then what other grant did we hear news of? Oh,
Working on the records management grant, and met with Lisa Matto and a representative for that grant, so that one's in progress too.
okay. And then the FEMA grant for the East Beach Phase 2 restoration.
Yes, and also, and I think you were touching on this when we were talking about 88 North Country.
Yes, please talk about that.
Okay, so it's very exciting to say that we have a meeting scheduled for next week. It's a virtual meeting regarding all the various village-wide infrastructure restoration that has to happen as a result of the storm events on the 18th and 19th of August. So we have a meeting scheduled for that, and we feel very confident. We have, as we all know, we had issues at 88 North Country, at the Village Center, with our storm drains, and just village-wide. So we'll be exploring that. That meeting could last up to an hour and a half. In terms of 88 North Country, there was a meeting scheduled for today for the last piece of the remediation puzzle, which is for flooring and carpeting, and the cleaning, once again, of the HVAC system. Once those are completed, which we expect will be within the next 2 weeks, that building will again be habitable.
Okay. That was a heavy lift, pulling those documents together and all
Yes.
that, all those records that were proof of the damage that occurred as a result of those storms. And the corresponding photos. It was exciting that we heard that they want to talk to us. Cautiously optimistic. I also want to shout out to Brian Rowe, who came back to work on Monday after an 11-week convalescence, I'd say, of a knee injury that occurred outside of work, but he just, his presence in the village is obvious immediately. If you look at the flower beds and the landscaping and everything that's related to the property of the village, he's driving around on Monday saying, we have some work to do here, and he did it, and he's doing it, and it's great to have him back. We missed him. So, and then I think that is, we're interviewing code enforcement supervisor applicants. And what I'd like to do is offer this board, Bob attended one of the interviews. He was available for one. Stan came in for a meeting, and one was concluding, and he jumped in on that interview. But we're coming in across some very highly qualified candidates, and we want to invite trustees to potentially a meeting of all to interview the finalists for that position. So we want to schedule that meeting for the week of December 16th, if everyone's around. That's the target, because we'd really like to be able to, if we can find the right candidate, start the position at the first week of January. For the civil service title position of code enforcement supervisor. Yeah, because we have that title available to us.
Can you send out a schedule for us?
We'll work with Rita on scheduling it. Okay? Any questions? Okay, Treasurer Gafka.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to start with just a couple of announcements. One of them is the AFR, the Annual Financial Report, was certified and done. R.S. Abrams did an amazing job in a very short amount of time getting all of our financial documents together to be able to get that up to the state to fill out all of the tedious work that is involved in doing the annual financial report. And then it was certified last week. So that is finished.
So can I just say, congratulations. It's incredible. That was a huge lift. We know the pressure you were under while they were here.
Not just a huge lift, the amount of work that needed to happen based on where we were in our financials and where we are now, the work that the treasurer's team and the treasurer did, as well as the auditors, because they came in having to at least go back and validate some of the corrections that have been made and then do the report. So, yeah, this was a lot of work.
Yeah, it was,
Thank
it
you.
was really a good effort from everybody in Village Hall and all of the staff, and a big thanks to my staff as well for all the work that they put in getting it done. My expectation is that as a quasi timeline, that what's going to happen now is they're going to finish the draft financial documents. Once we have a draft financial documents, the intention is to then present that to the Budget and Finance Committee as per their charter in the code. Whether that's via Zoom or we actually get one of the partners that worked on the audit to the Budget and Finance Committee. I'm going to try and figure that out once we're a little closer to that. Then once there's, everything is okay from that standpoint, presentation to the board of the financial documents before they're finalized. And then we will have an actual presentation from R.S. Abrams on the financial report. I think December might be a little ambitious, so I'm going to target January for that to happen. And then I will communicate the dates, and we'll work with the clerk's office to figure out what the best, whether it be work session or the regular meeting, to do that. So that's all in play. Second one is that we did have the capital asset valuation team came in the third week, just before Thanksgiving. They did an amazing job. They were highly complimentary of Parks, DPW, the staff up at the country club, over the amount of help and knowledge that everybody has of all of the equipment that needed to be looked at. And just as a information piece, our capital assets per the policy that the board has since 2016, $1,000 or more per item as a replacement value would be classified as a capital asset. And that goes with equipment, roads, streetlights, buildings, land, so on and so forth. So that is being worked on. I'm in communication with them, which is the company and their principal on that. And the plan is to have a final document by the end of this fiscal year, so that our next audit, that mark that has been on the audit for the last 10 years, will come off, the material weakness, that we don't have a capital asset or fixed asset report. We will have one, and we'll update it every year so that it never happens again. So that's a positive thing. And then just a couple updates on the ARPA, because there's a lot of moving pieces there. The well pump repair is about $17,000 in total. We have multiple quotes and requests for quotes, so we meet our procurement on that. It's something that's needed to be done. We also have the sign making machine. We have 3 different quotes on that. The total is around $14,000 is what we're looking at. We also met all of our procurement for that as well, and DPW is very excited to get to have a machine so that they can do it in-house on metal, and to really be able to produce stuff and save some money over the next few years. Also, the parking meters.
You guys should check out the sign trailer up at DPW. Those guys take great pride in their work. They love their job. I mean, it's like they're so happy when you go in there and you look at what they do and how they do it, and it's interesting to see. It's not a long visit, but it's worthwhile seeing.
Yes.
But that's the old in with the new, right? But see what they've been working with. So then when you see this new sign machine come in, the difference will be immeasurable.
Yeah, this is something the DPW superintendent mentioned when I first met him, when I asked for what's your capital needs. The sign
First
machine
request, yeah.
was at the top of the list. So I'm happy that we're going to be able to move forward with that. The parking meters, anybody that goes to use the parking meters will see that the language has changed on the screen. It says Monday through Thursday, free parking, Friday through Sunday, $1.50 an hour, 2-hour minimum. So that's just to alert everybody that tries to use the machine, hey, if it's Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, you don't have to use it. Honk mobile or online app, parking app has also been changed to reflect all of that. It says the same language, Monday through Thursday free, Friday through Sunday. So anybody that happens to go and try and pay for parking that doesn't hear this, that's why. So it's been changed. And then just to go into my report, the first 2 resolutions, which take up the entire page, they're involved decreasing both the general fund budget revenues and expenses and the country club budget revenues and expenses. I'll start with the general fund. Basically, we're not going to hit certain revenue targets based off of what is coming in through franchise tax agreements with the utilities and mortgage tax aid. It's just over the past couple of years, you try and budget versus what you think might happen, and then obviously, the housing market's cooled down significantly, and that has caused our mortgage tax aid to go down, which is about a $200,000 drop is what we're looking at on the mortgage tax aid. And the franchise tax, it seems like the last couple of years, it has been a little over targeted because it was going off of what had happened the previous 3. So at this point, I think it would be in the best interest to bring that budget down so that we don't operate at a deficit. Part of that is being offset by additional parking meter revenue. That helps mitigate the cuts that follow on all of these revenues, of these expenses. And the entire budget decrease for general funds about $158,000.
You're gonna have to read all these off on the,
I wanted to present this at the work session. I think what I would like to do is have this as a little Excel
an
paper
attachment?
as an attachment.
Okay.
But I wanted to present it to the board so that if there are any
Yeah.
questions on any of this, we can talk about it, and it's in black and white in front of you. So I'll
Everybody
open it up.
understand that? Like, he's gonna use this as an attachment, not as Sylvie's gonna read all these as individual resolutions. Okay? Yeah.
But this, I just wanted everybody to see it, so it's very clear what I'm doing.
Okay.
So I'll leave it if there's any questions on the general fund side before I move on to the country club. Okay.
We had talked about this in the past. Carol and I were just talking about the tree, the last item on there.
Yes. So,
17,000.
right. So,
Sorry.
no,
No, I didn't have my microphone.
so there's a couple things involved with this. One, we thought, when we were doing the projection on the budget, that we would have this amount of revenue, that we could fit this in. It was a request from the former trustee Cassay to have this budget line in for tree plantings at a $2 per capita to meet the Tree City USA. There are other ways to meet that Tree City USA criteria through tree work, tree maintenance, and pruning. The easiest way is just to have it in the line and to spend the entire amount on trees. But what is also known is that we have $25,000 that was given to the village from Mather when they started doing their expansion, when they removed a lot of trees. This happened a few years ago. I think it was about 3 years ago. And they gave a check to the village for $25,000 that is sitting in a deferred revenue. So while we can't keep this in the operating budget, when we want to buy trees, the anticipation is that that $25,000 was specifically marked to purchase trees to plant in the village, that we would then tap into that deferred revenue that we already have and to then bring it into the budget in order to allocate towards specific purchases of the trees. It also allows you to follow that money so that you know exactly what it's being spent on. That's why I felt comfortable being able to do this in this year's budget. When I produce the next year's budget, my anticipation is to put this back in to be supported with the revenues that I have. And even if for some reason we get to the end of the year and revenues for other items outpace what our expectations were and we do really well and we're sitting in a good financial spot, perhaps we can even restore some of the cuts in order to get some additional items done.
But as far as the 17,000, is offset, and maybe that's not the right word, but by the tree pruning and other tree work that we did, so it was still
Correct.
count towards
Qualifies.
Tree City
I think replaces.
Yes, correct.
replaces. Thank you.
Yeah, correct. There was a small amount of money paid towards trees, but we did a lot, close to $40,000 in the previous fiscal year towards tree work, which more than meets the per capita requirement, and that was passed along to the tree committee. So that's why I felt comfortable taking that
So they
out.
went through with the application?
I believe so, yes. I didn't receive a confirmation, but I got, there was a thank you for the information and they
Okay.
moved forward. Moving on to the country club, when the country club budget was developed, there was a certain target for golf membership dues that we thought we were going to be able to get. We're not going to come close to that amount. We were targeting 2.1 million. We're going to hit 1.9, maybe a little less than 1.9. So in order to prevent any additional damage done by operating at a deficit, we bring the budget down. and we cut expenses where we thought, and I sat down and I worked with the GM from the country club. I also spoke to the golf course superintendent for maintenance, and everybody was on board that these were absorbable cuts and that they wouldn't affect operations for the rest of the year. So that's why I'm putting that forward. Wanted to, if there's any questions on that.
Nope.
The
Good
rest.
work. Good work.
Thank you. Hopefully, you never want to do cuts, but you know, the best practice from the state says to avoid any fund balance deficits, you do it when you immediately know that you have it, so that you don't then operate at a deficit and spend more than you bring in. And there's a nice presentation from the state I could pass along to the board if they're interested about that. I believe it's a PowerPoint that talks about.
I think the Budget and Finance Committee would love that.
We already have it.
I think they already have it.
I think I brought it back from Nikon.
I'm going to use AI to figure out which are the most salient points.
We could.
Yeah.
And then, you know, other than that, there's the rest of my budget amendments we've already kind of talked about a little bit. And we talked about the audit, so if there's any questions.
I have one note, and I know the clerk mentioned it, that there's going to be a procurement presentation tomorrow, new procurement policy workshop. It will be recorded for posterity by our team, and so that employees who are not able to attend that will benefit from the workshop will be able to watch the workshop after the fact so that they can have a better understanding of the procurement policy. I think everybody that has some sort of purchasing authority, power, responsibility needs to understand what they're doing when they're doing it. And that this workshop will be very helpful, I hope.
Yes, I think it will.
And I think it's a start of a video library that we should have on hand for ethics training and also the harassment training and all the health and wellness training.
Yeah.
All the training.
We
So
hire somebody new.
yeah. Yep. So we'll start a library. Okay. Attorney Moran.
I'll need an executive session.
Okay. Anybody else? Anything residual that occurred to you while we were all talking?
Yeah, one thing, you had mentioned the.
There's mine.
I had to ask.
Yeah, you see? That's how you opened it up. You mentioned how all the committees working together and how one affects the other. A request that I had gotten is that maybe we can do like a round table, and maybe like a chairperson from each committee get together and just talk about what their committees are working on and see how it interacts with the other committee and see how they can help each committee out.
Yeah.
Sort of like our department head meetings.
Love it.
So maybe that's
We'll
something
work on that for
we
the new
can-
year. How
can
about that?
plan
Yeah.
New Year, yeah.
Okay.
Love that.
All right.
And-
What do you think? Quarterly, biannually? What do you think?
Well, let's just do one
Yeah,
and
let's do
s-
one.
and
And make
ask
a
them
decision
what
from there.
they-
See what-
how
yeah.
often it would be useful for
All
them.
right.
But and I just had one quick question, because of the number of committees that are now meeting in person frequently, can we just get a schedule, like a software-based or Microsoft-based calendar that everybody can get to, that, for the conference room downstairs?
Our digital, Our digital
Because my
team-
biggest fear is that I'm gonna show up with 6 people and it's gonna be full.
they're actually working on that today.
Thank you.
And we're installing a physical manual whiteboard calendar in the boardroom.
Great.
Yeah, so that anybody can input their requests and information on.
You do love whiteboards.
They're wonderful.
Yeah, they're taking over.
This is starting to be a well-oiled machine.
All right, so do we have a motion to go into executive session
Motion.
for contract negotiations?
as some legal issues.
Motion?
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.